Hello and welcome to the Video Game Book Club, a podcast about video game themed books, right? Yeah, that sounds right. I'm trying to think of a fun tagline for this.
So this book was first, and then a video game was produced from it.
But then the next third book in the series was based on the game, so...
And we are talking about Metro 2033.
I keep forgetting that date because there's so many games with dates. I keep thinking 2025.
2025, I don't know.
2077. No, it's 2033.
Which is quickly becoming a reality in more ways than one. But this is by Dmitry Glukhovsky.
That sounds right.
And the book originally came out in 2007.
Wow.
Followed by the game Metro 2033, which came out in 2010.
Like I said, the most expensive advertisement for a book I've ever seen.
I played Metro...
You played the Redux, right?
I played the game a long time ago, so I don't really...
It's really hard
remember.
to find the original. Mostly you can just get the Redux now, which is really a bummer. Luckily I had both.
What was the difference?
The monsters are designed a little bit different. They're more scary in the original. There's in Redux.
It's like when we played BioShock, and when they redid it, like the lighting was different, so you could see everyone's
A lot of the
messed up
lighting's
face.
different. A lot of the lighting's different. The characters' models are a little different, and the levels are longer. So instead of, because in the original game, once you finish your quest, you'd get like a cutscene, and then it would like fade out, and then you'd hear the little dialogue between, and then you'd move in. But in Redux, you actually like walk to the level changer location.
In Metro 23, do you go to the surface a lot?
We went to the surface like twice.
Okay, because I've played a couple of the games, and I can't remember what is what because it's been so long. But all I just remember is having to change your filter, and there's a lot of with the game there. You have to be careful on how many bullets you use, and
Because it's also currency.
how often you have to change your filter, because there's not that many filters around for your radiation.
That's true. Let's read the back of the book first before I go off on the next tangent.
This is a smash hit around Europe, and highly acclaimed Metro 2033 plunges
Is it a smash hit if it's a cult classic?
Maybe it's a cult classic here, but it's
a smash hit over there. Okay.
Metro 2033 plunges you into the claustrophobic world where hope is scarce and despair reigns supreme. The year is 2033. The world has been reduced to rubble. Humanity is nearly extinct. A few thousands live on, not knowing if they are the only survivors on the planet. They live in Moscow Metro, the biggest air-rated shelter ever built. It is humanity's last refuge. It is a world without a tomorrow, with no room for dreams, plans, hopes. Feelings have given way to instinct, the most important of which is survival. Survival at any price. And our main character, still in the back of the book, he lives in a station, and in the book it's VDNKH. But you said in the audiobook they say...
Well, I think they're saying it like phonically, like VD. It's Vidiekaya, I believe, is how they said it. That might be wrong.
So I think I just said Vindek, like
Vidiekaya.
Vindekaya is the northernmost inhabited station on its line, and still remains secure. But now a new and terrible threat has appeared. Artyom, a young man living in... What?
So did you say he's a threat?
No, well...
They said a terrible threat has appeared. Artyom.
A young man living in...
He's a threat to somebody.
Vindekaya is given the task of penetrating into the heart of the metro, into the legendary Polis, to alert everyone to the awful danger and to get help. Although he tells no one he's going, so...
He tells a lot of people he goes to Polis.
No, he tells no one that he's leaving to go to Polis.
He doesn't want him to stop him.
He holds the future of his native station, which is not really his native station, in his hands. The future of Metro and maybe the whole of humanity.
Wow.
So, this is actually... You and I have the same...
threat to the Metro. Artyom. He's coming for you.
Yeah, so that was a kind of true of what's happening in this book. You and I both have the same copy from orionbooks.uk.
Yep. Okay, having the physical copy, because I'm the audiobook one. You know me. You know me, guys.
And your audiobook was narrated by
Rupert Degas, and he was amazing. Oh my god. He reads all of the Metro books. He's so good at doing the accents, at doing the creepy stuff. He does voices, and it's an Audible exclusive audiobook, boo, but also, I don't know.
It's better than not having an audiobook, which is what
better than
happened
not
last
having
time.
an audiobook, which happens all the time. And the fact that this guy just killed it, I'm so happy he does the other two, because I'm definitely going to be reading them. Because for me, this book was a 5-star. I loved it. I was so obsessed. I was obsessed with it. I was talking to everybody about it.
It moves very quickly. This is
All
a
the
reread
time.
for me. I read this one several years ago. It still holds up though. Like,
It's good.
I think
It's good stuff.
mine is more like 4.5. I think I gave it a 4.
Whatever, critic.
I still like the dog in the first chapter. We never hear about again, but
That's why it got a 0.5.
Where's my dog?
About the audiobook really quick. So it's an Audible exclusive, but they messed up the audio mixing in chapter 16. Because they have, when you start a chapter, they have a little like theme song. It's like dun dun sh, dun dun, and then there's like train noises. Imagine it. Sorry, copyright Audible. Dun 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 dun. This is an audible presentation. And so they have that at the intro of every chapter. That's how you know the chapter changed. And
Do they say what the title of the chapters are?
Yeah, they do.
They actually have titles.
during that song, he'll be like, chapter 16, because he's British. At chapter 16, they accidentally played that theme song again in the middle of the chapter while people were talking. So I was like, what? It's like, is the next chapter? And it'd be like, no, he's just talking over it. So for Audible Audio Mixer, messed up. I paid $30 for that.
Dang, because this book is £9, so that would be no more than $18.
I want a discount.
Yeah, so the audio is way more. I'm surprised it was $30.
That was expensive.
Wow. But there is a Metro map in the beginning
there's a
and
map.
in the back as well.
It's not helpful at all.
It does. It's got the key or the
cute.
legend. Tells you kind of the different political places that are on there. I feel like they really needed to mark where Artem's journey. I think that would have been helpful in one of the maps.
That would have been pretty helpful, yeah.
Because Venetskaya is like way up on like a side.
Tell. There's so many Skyas. Apparently that means station. So it makes sense why there's so many Gaias.
I found it and then I like lost it because I had to backtrack to look to. Oh, it's right there. It's up at the top.
Up at the top?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not even the most north. It's because there's the botanical garden would have been the next one that's up there. And then it'll tell you the Red Line and Polis. And it tells you where the Fourth Reich is, which these are different. And then I think it's got like danger of collapse. This might be the map that he gets with some of the handwriting stuff later on in the book.
3 different maps.
Yeah. Where some tunnels, some are not. You see where the water goes through. It moves very quickly.
I bought immediately 2035 because that's the one that continues Artyom's story, and I wanted to read that one next because I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with it. Oh, what I was gonna say, I remember now. Game or book? What do you think? What
so
order should you play it in?
I played the game first, and then I read the book. There was some stuff in the book that when they were described some of the creatures, I don't feel like they did.
I think he does a really bad job at describing the creatures.
Yeah, an adequate job. So even the dark ones, they describe it a couple different ways, and it was hard for me to picture, but I just pictured what I saw in the game. And then we talked about when we were reading it on Fable, like, what the heck did the librarians look like? Because they give multiple descriptions.
They do. And also, like, you don't really know what people look like in this.
Yeah.
They don't describe the people, which is fine. Like,
Unless if they have red hair.
I don't
that was
need
always
to know what the people look like, to be honest.
They all
Although,
look
like,
stained.
it was the end of the book when I found out that Artyom had a beard,
Yeah.
which also you can't have if you have a gas mask on. So,
Which is, he doesn't go outside in the book until like way later.
that's not true.
I mean, well,
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That was me being pedantic, but
flashbacks.
didn't know what to do first. I read a lot of people be like, oh, you should play the games first, or like actually the books would be gives you more background. Mm-hmm. So one dude I saw on Reddit was like, don't read the book first, play the game first, because the book will ruin the game for you. And I thought that this guy was just being the like, you know, ooh, the book's better than the game type of person. And they were right. They were right. I played them at the same time. So every time I got to a part...
you just stop. You're playing and you're like, no, or you're reading. Yeah. You're like, I'm not there yet.
But the game is very, very different from the book. Yeah. So it got to a point where I was like, I don't know where I am game to book wise. So I just kind of kept going in both of them at the same time.
I feel like you had to shoot more of the dog mutant things in the game, and they're not really in the book.
This is a psychological horror. The game is a shooter. And I kind of wish that they would remake this and make it like more of a psychological horror type of
They
game.
should make it VR. That would be...
There is a VR Metro. It's called Metro Awakening. It just came out.
Although those types of games make me a little nauseous because you have to walk and stuff.
But yeah, I definitely think you should play the game first. Because I don't think the game is bad. And that's the problem. Like, I don't think the game is bad. There's stuff that the game did better than the book, but there's stuff that the book definitely did better than the game. And I think I talk about that in my notes, but I definitely think the book is better, and I don't think they're ever going to make another Metro 2033 like remake, but we're changing the whole thing and making it more of like a
more like
psychological horror based on a shooter. I understand why they had to do a shooter, because that was like the era of shooter, you know. And it's not a bad game. I just wanted it to be more like the book.
Yeah.
So it's hard. I would just play the game first, and then you'd get like a picture, and you'd get really disjointed stuff about what happens in the book, and then you go into the book. People's names are different. Events happen differently.
There are some, like, I remember reading the book afterwards and being like, oh, I went, because you go into this one room, which is optional, and you can see the shadows that were left behind from the people, and that's described in the book. And so when I came to those parts in the book, I was like, ooh, I remember that.
That's cool. Yeah, that seems like it would be better. Especially to get the idea of what the creatures look like. Because Dmitry does not do a very good job.
Yeah,
but maybe that's on purpose?
When we talked about the ooze creature towards the end, I have questions.
Yeah. Maybe that's on purpose. Maybe it's like...
How to use your own imagination. Because that is
they're
also
like, it kind of looks like a gorilla, but not. And you're like, thanks. Thanks a lot.
They mention it is like something with the Kremlin. He's like, people see what they want to see. So maybe you bring your own experiences and you kind of create...
I did that with reading.
You think they are?
Because I accidentally got ahead while reading instead of the game because I was too obsessed with the book. And so they described the monsters. And in my head, they were way scarier. And then I played the game and I was like, that's just a fuzzy rat. Like, who cares?
Although the rats...
Gotta be out. The creatures in Metro, I don't think are that scary. Like, not even the librarians. The big... gorilla guys, their faces are scary, sure, but other than that, not to be all big macho tough guy over here, but
I think also because it was the game of its time, and now that it's like 15 years later, things are scarier in games.
It was scarier in the original because there were like these rat men, and that they didn't have any fur. And the shadow stuff was better, mainly because the lighting got really weird in Redux. And the lighting's really important in Metro, so that's how you see them ghosts. So I would say play the game first and then read the book, but I definitely think you should read the book because it's really good. Yeah. And you should play the game too. It's also good, even though I just said it wasn't as good.
Is it? It's pretty short though, too.
It's real short. People said it was 9 hours, but those people are too fast for me. It took me about, I think, 12 to 15 hours to finish.
Yeah. Well, I think if you actually explore through stuff, it takes a lot longer.
I got lost a lot. That was my big critique.
No map, right?
There's no map. Yeah. They do. I learned when I started playing Last Light that I had a compass that would tell me where to go.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. They didn't tell me. So I was just wandering around like...
hidden menu item, things.
Where am I supposed to go? And that's why I liked the original, because like once my mission ended, it just moved to a cutscene, and then and I didn't have to wander around being like, where's the exit? So that's on me for being dumb and not knowing that I knew I had the lighter, which is funny because sometimes if you bring up the lighter, you bring up the thing, but I just never even noticed that was a compass.
Are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, so we're going to spoil the entire book, and I guess the game, in a way.
Because Savvy's gonna spoil the game because I don't remember all the game, but it's been a while since I played it.
You know what? I'm just gonna spoil it. Sorry. I'm gonna ruin it all for you.
So we're gonna start with the...
Oh, you know what's crazy about the game? One sec. The game has 2 different endings. Obviously, the book doesn't.
This is not.
But I think the way they did it is interesting. Because I played the game, and then I was like, so what's the actual choice?
Did you canon it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I messed up. Actually, the bad ending is the actual ending of the book.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But, okay.
So I don't know if this starts in the audiobook, but in the book, it starts, Dear Muscovites and guests, to our capital. The Moscow Metro is a form of transportation which involves a heightened level of danger. A notice in the metro. Chapter 1, The End of the Earth.
So, Artyom is our protagonist. We're going to be following him the whole time.
And he's like 18, right? Something like that?
20.
20?
He just turned 20. Okay. He might be younger in the book, actually, but he's 20 in the game.
I wrote it down somewhere, because they don't tell you till like way later.
Artyom, our little boy, is on guard. He thinks he hears something, not human, but it runs away. Artyom asks this guy, his name is Piotr Adonovich, who is guarding with him, and they tell them the tale of Poleskaya, even though he already knows it. This bothered me, because this is so book. Artyom's like, tell me the story of Poleskaya again. I already know it, but I need the readers to know what's going on.
We gotta have some history of like how it's basically setting up what the metro is and like the different political stations that are there. So it is your introduction to the metro. Although they don't talk about like, oh, there was this gigantic, nuclear fallout and we all had to come into the metro.
Tell me the story of how we're all down here. Petrov Adonovich.
Peter. Is it, they don't say Peter?
Pyotr. Pyotr.
And this is another thing.
Adonovich.
If you read, I made a comment on this on Fable as well, but if you read Russian literature, they always say the full name. And we will get the full name except for...
Artyom.
Because
he's a baby.
Melnik. And Hunter.
Melnik.
And
well,
Khan,
Hunter...
too, but...
And Khan.
But so there are only, like, a handful of... And so, like...
Well, Hunter's, like, a fake name.
Hunter, yeah.
Khan's a fake name.
And Melnik, I think, is his last name, right?
It's his last name, but he's, like, a military guy, so I think that maybe makes sense.
But Artyom, we don't really get his...
Because he's a child.
Yeah. But everyone else, for the most part, it's their, like, full name.
They disrespect Artyom so hard. When I started playing the game, I was like, man, everyone's treating me so nicely and everything. And then I read the book, and I was like, oh, it's because he's a baby?
He's a baby, but also his stepfather, which is his, like, adoptive caregiver, is, like, the ruler of the station.
Yes, I guess.
So Savvy, tell us the story of Polinskaya.
It's a metro settlement station, and it disappeared. That's all I have.
Yeah, it's people disappeared.
People disappeared.
So it's telling like the ghost stories of the metro, which you hear a lot of, like the rumors and stuff that goes around.
Some other guy comes to check on them and tells them that he tells them that we saw something weird, but it skittered away.
And so, is this where we get the story of the rats?
Yeah. So we find out Artyom is an orphan. He doesn't know his dad. He kind of remembers his mom. He was at a different settlement that got invaded by rats.
Timirskaya.
His mom, like, gave him...
She's like, take my baby!
Because there's, like, military guys there, right, to help with the rat thing. And one of them is his current stepdad, the ruler of Vidinskaya.
He calls him Uncle Sasha or Sukhoi.
Sukhoi is his name.
Yeah.
He calls him Uncle Sasha. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
we're gonna.
I'm probably like gonna mostly say Sukhoi in my notes.
Good. They went back and forth in the book from Uncle Sasha to Sequoia, so I was like, wait, I had to remember who it was.
Who's talking about him?
There's a lot of characters in this book.
Yes, Artyom's gonna talk to so many people.
Mm-hmm. Not a lot of ladies, though.
No, not a lot of ladies.
So, Andre and his people come up, and they're, like, sitting around the fire. We heard the story of how Artyom came to
He was the only one who survived because they gave him to Sukhoi, and Sukhoi left because there's too many rats. Then we find out that this station makes dope mushroom tea, and it trades really well, so they're doing okay.
Do they have pigs there, or is that one of the other stations?
I think they do have pigs. They have pigs here.
So certain stations, depending on what was happening up top, was able to bring down certain livestock, and so they're known for different things to trade with. This one is known for their tea. Their
mushroom tea.
Popular before the mushroom coffee?
I guess so. It's the only thing they got. I said this guy named Audrey sucks. He's one of the, guards that are hanging out with them.
He's 15 years older than Artyom, and we get another Andre, later on, I think.
We get another Andre, but I think this was Audrey. There's no N. Doesn't matter.
Have an N.
Doesn't matter. He doesn't like traitors. He thinks they're traitorous. He's not important, and that wasn't important either.
Yeah, he's trying to get information from Artyom about what Uncle Sasha the info that he came back with, and the stations are all aligning against some sort of threat.
Artyom let it slip that the other stations want to join. Mm-hmm. He says because of their mushrooms, but
it's like.
Then we learn about the Hansa.
Yeah.
Which is the intersection of all other lines. So they're the big boys around here. There's also the Soviets, which is the red line, which is full of commies. The rest of the metro is not communist because they're like, yeah, no, that's a bad idea. That didn't work before. There was a war. There was a peace treaty between the coalition and the Reds.
The Hansa and the Reds. They fought and then it fizzled out, so they have a peace agreement. And then Peter says that Prospect Mirror, which is one of the stations that we will hear about a lot. They are currently under martial law.
So after we get all that world building, they see some weird thing on the floor, and Audrey goes to check it out. Turns it over to the dog.
It's a puppy. And so they think it's the Dark Ones.
Yeah, they think it's the Dark Ones, which our team has only seen once.
Yeah, and I was like, do Dark Ones keep puppies? Where did this puppy come from?
Nobody knows where this puppy comes from.
And so Artyom takes this dog, and then we'll never see it again.
No, Audrey takes the dog.
I thought Artyom took it.
Audrey brings puppy over. They were like, where does Dark Ones come from?
Yeah, but then Artyom brings it back to the station.
No, Audrey takes it. So he just has a dog now. They don't want to talk about the Dark Ones because they're on watch and they're like, I'm going to jinx it if we start talking about it.
Well, they captured a Dark One and they were trying to get information from it, but the Dark One, it wouldn't speak, eat, or drink. So it's some sort of, it's human-like, but...
They say it looks a little undead-y.
Yeah, the eyes are black. Yeah. And later on in the book, it'll tell you they look like they're inside out.
They look like aliens.
Yeah.
They're just they look like gray aliens.
That's how I pictured them.
That's how I pictured them, which was a bummer because I kind of wanted them to look like creepy zombies. I don't like the alien look with the little bulb fingers.
In chapter 2, which is called The Hunter, that's where we get the description of the Dark Ones.
Because Artyom is thinking about them.
Because he's seen them.
Their shift is over, so Artyom is going back to the station.
Part of Andrei's group is a man called Hunter, and he's asking Artyom about his stepfather. And we get the name Stalker. Stalkers are the people that go above. And we read a book.
We read Roadside Picnic.
Yeah.
Which is where Stalker comes from, kind of. Because they took the name Stalker from our language because they thought it sounded cool.
And it became now part of the Russian language.
Yeah.
And so they mention it in the book, too. So it was a little...
Yeah.
This book and the Stalkers
are the
ones
Hunter is a stalker.
But
I would he says his job, because he was like, it's not my name, it's my job. Mm-hmm. Because he's like that, all right? You're not going to see a lot of him, but he's just kind of like that.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Hunter?
He at one point I was like, I hope he's just a crazy person.
He sounds insane.
But he is on a mission, and he's there, and he's kind of like almost a man of few words.
Out of all the stalkers that we've met, probably one of my least favorite.
Oh.
Melnick's where it's at. Melnick is my favorite. I love Melnick. Hunter, whatever.
Not taking crap from anyone. Hunter is I feel like Hunter's just judgy.
Hunter's a freak.
Yeah.
Like, you'll find out later in this. We'll just keep going. This is how you're going to find out he's a freak. That can't be matched.
So Hunter goes to talk to his stepfather. Artyom will have dreams throughout this entire book, and that is
important.
Dreams are important. Are dreams in the game at all?
No,
I don't really remember.
I think he maybe talks about them in like the little diary entries you can pick up.
But he starts having nightmares, and he thinks that they're kind of like everyone's having these weird dreams. So Hunter will talk about like people are getting infected, and maybe by the Dark Ones. So the Dark Ones aren't just, killing people, which it sounds like they are. They're just taking people. And then they're also like infecting them to have weird dreams.
Yeah, they get into your brain.
Yeah.
And they cause you to kind of go insane, basically.
And turn like zombie-like, right? Almost.
Or just die. Or just straight up die. Artyom goes back to his apartment that he lives with his stepfather, and he's thinking about when he was a kid, and he was peer pressured to go to the surface because he really likes stalkers. They're really into stalkers. They're cool guys. So him and his kid friends were like running around under the station, and they were like, let's go to the surface like stalkers.
So there's a botanical garden near where they're at, and there is a metal shield that protects it from the outside world, and they open
it up. And this is a really important reason why the rest of the events of the whole metro.
It's his fault.
It's his fault. It's his fault the Dark Ones got in. You'll find that later. This is his fault.
Yeah.
So he opened it. They went to the surface for like 2 seconds, and they were like, "It's cold," and then they went back down.
But they couldn't close the door.
Yeah.
And they run away, and they're like, "We will never speak of this.
We'll never speak of this." But he's about to speak of this because guess who's in his apartment? Hunter.
He's talking to his dad.
Oh, he had a dream.
Yeah.
He went to bed, and he had a dream that Hunter came in and turned into a ghoul.
That's
and was
why
like,
he's infected.
It was like, "I know your secret." He. Yeah, then his stepdad woke him up, and it's like, guests are coming over. Guess who it is? It's Hunter. Oh.
They know each other. The Dark Ones are coming more and more.
It's funny, because
they're having these, like, really awful, like, tea time conversations.
Yeah, and Artyom's just, like, standing there, and what's funny is Hunter's like, I think the Dark Ones got in your brain and made you feel like you want to give up Suhoi.
Yeah.
Which maybe...
Because he's not very active.
Yeah, he's them. Like, I'm just going to give up. Yeah. Like, we're all dead. The world sucks. We're going to die.
We're not meant to live this long down here.
And maybe they did get in his head. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he's just being a doomer. Hunter's not a doomer. He's like, we are going to live. We're going to fight these things.
He's wearing his aluminum hat. So he's like, you can't get in here. Can't steal my thoughts.
Can't steal my thoughts with my tin helmet. Suhoi comes back and is like, because they're like, oh, just blow the tunnel so the Dark Ones can't get in. And he's like, if we blow another tunnel, it'll cause a flood and this metro station will just be fucked.
Yeah, because they're by the river. But, so I have a book somewhere over there that is, like, what happens if all the humans, like, snap of a finger, humans gone from the earth.
Okay.
Within hours, the metros will flood because there is like a pump constantly because everything's underground. So that made me think of that. But really, there's a river nearby where they're at, and you can see it on the map, the metro map. And so if they blow the tunnel, then it'll be flooded and it'll go through to the other ones. So they're like, we're the last line of defense.
Yeah, I'm surprised these metros haven't flooded already, to be honest. Especially if they're already blowing tunnels and not taking, like, some stations are abandoned.
How long do you think because they don't, like, outright say how long they've been down there. But
well, people who remember what it was like before are still around, and they're, like 70, 80, so...
But we get, later on, we'll see the picture that Artyom finds, which means if he's 20... then I would say they've been down there for at least 15 years, maybe 18 maximum.
No, I think it would be a little bit more. He would be, because he's only known, well, that's not true, because you're right, look at the picture.
The picture that he finds above.
Yeah, it's probably like 18 years, something like that. Wait, did it say how old he was? Yeah, dead.
Yeah, because he was
like 2?
He was
3?
Toddler, because he's holding up.
So, yeah, it's not very long.
So 20 maximum, but not like 19. So that's not that long.
That's not that long.
I mean, it would suck to be underground for 19 years, but
It's a long. Well, that's not that they haven't been down there for that long.
so that would, but then
All these mutants got created so fast,
and
the Dark Ones got created so fast. That has to be. This is a loophole. I don't think this is good. This should be longer.
It should be longer, but also radiation does crazy stuff.
But not that crazy.
No. But later on, when
fast.
he goes to the surface, you see the bodies are still there.
Yeah, but they're like skeletons by now.
No.
Anyway.
So we don't know how long they've been down in the tunnel.
So
we're assuming for like
Hunter's
just under 20 years.
over Sukhoi's doom and gloom, and he's like, Artyom, I want to talk to you privately.
Yeah.
And then Hunter's like, so what do you think of my job and my name? And Artyom blushes and twirls his hair, and he's like, it's cool, I guess. Hunter's
fanboy.
like,
He's such a stalker fanboy. This is where they say, let's trade secrets.
Yeah. Hunter talks about how he has nightmares too, and he's like, I think your stepdad is like, the Dark Ones are talking through him.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, I want to talk about this secret. I exchange it for another secret. Secret for a secret.
I have a secret. Do you have a secret? Let's exchange.
That's weird.
You're a grown man, and he is a child.
I have a secret. You want to share secrets? Do you think my job is cool, Artyom?
Artyom is being quiet. I think that's why he's like, he knows something's up, and so he's going to try to...
Artyom told Hunter his secret.
And Hunter's like, what the hell, man?
Hunter's like, that's really bad. You would probably die for that, so now I have a way to blackmail you.
What was Hunter's secret?
His secret is something is coming from the botanical gardens,
Yeah.
and something is growing. He basically is the one who tells him that he's going over there to see what's up. The 700th meter of northern tunnel is where Hunter's going, and apparently that's where the darkness begins. If he doesn't come back, then Artyom has to go to Polis to find a man named Melnik to tell him what happened.
He's got a message.
Gives him a metal box to give to Melnik so that he knows that Hunter sent him. A metal box, which in the game it's just dog tags.
Oh, yeah, he wears it as a necklace.
Yeah. Chapter 3. If I don't come back, Artyom's stepdad was asleep when he came back inside the tent. He was afraid. He was like, my stepdad's going to ask me what Hunter wanted to talk about. But he was asleep. So Artyom's like, I got to go work at the tea factory. So he sees his friend.
They talk about time a lot in this book too, considering that they are underground, and so how do you tell time? And their station has a clock that tells time, but some stations don't.
Yeah.
And like to them, time is really important because they have the different shifts that they have to do. Then we also like find out about the rules of the station. So the first couple chapters really set up like this is the world we are in. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially for this station. So yeah, he goes see his friend Zinnia. They're gonna go work the mushroom shift together, but they're just gonna talk for a little bit first.
The question I have about this tea factory is like I thought they were guarding the tea factory, but they're there to make tea.
They're there to make tea, yeah.
So
everyone works a shift at the tea factory. Yeah. So how do we make our money?
Because they dry the mushrooms and then they make it into their fantastic tea.
They basically just talk shit on Suhoi's stepdad, and he's like, he wanted a family, but now he just has me because he's too busy working to get laid. So, and Artyom thinks that his stepdad thinks he's too dumb to do anything, so he's like, there's nothing wrong with being a husband and father, which is a Parks and Rec joke. They talk about
this. Also, they talk about this later. At the very, very end, when they talk about what's the meaning of life, and it has to do with, like, procreation.
They talk about the meaning of life all the time. Well, that's just that one guy's opinion.
Yeah.
You hear so many people's opinion on the meaning of life because this is a coming-of-age existential crisis book where you're going to learn a bunch of people's thoughts. What other Russian literature have you read?
I've read a lot of the, like, Crime and Punishment, and, like, yeah, it's in a lot of it.
Because, I mean, we read Roadside Picnic, but I feel like that one...
Which also had that one chapter you really didn't like about
the philosophy chapter? I hate people spouting their philosophies at me. Sorry, I have zero tolerance.
They talk about this, the different traders, because Xenia has, like, a trader fan. Yeah, and he talks about there's this guy known as the Magician, and...
Yeah, oh my gosh. Yeah, they talk about how weed is banned, and they're putting out misinformation about that it was bad for your health, and... the Magician who does a lot of weed and gives premonitions of the future like a psychic.
It's very
You'll meet
Alice in Wonderland.
You'll meet a weed-filled magician named Khan later, and I believe I hate that guy. I think he's one of these magician types. So annoying.
We also hear about Sukharovskaya, which they're not allowed to go in that tunnel alone because people don't come out of it. So you have to go in a caravan with like a certain amount of people, and so you gotta wait until you got enough people to go through it. Otherwise, you don't come out of it, which will become important later.
Oh, there's also, he talks about the haunted metro has a ghost train.
With laughing children.
That's awesome. There is laughing children a lot in the game. Every time you go near the pipes.
So there is a lore about San Diego where there's a certain hill where the rumor is that a bus crashed and
I heard about that one.
And
and
so the kids will push your car back up.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that.
On a foggy night. So yeah, so they go to work after gossiping. He's thinking about Hunter. Of course he is. Wondering how he's going to leave this
another
place.
friend, which is Kirill.
Oh, where the hell are you?
I'm after the laughing children.
They went to work. Artyom's thinking about Hunter at work, wondering how he's going to leave this place to complete Hunter's mission. Because I don't know if it hasn't been 2 days. But he's just like, that dude's 100% dead. I'm going to have to go after him. Which is fair. Artyom has a weird dream where Hunter tells him this is not a dream.
Wait, before the dream, Kirill is like, we're going.
Tells him a caravan.
Yeah, there's a station that needs us to hook up a wire so we can telephone and telegraph each other. And so, hey, dudes, you want to go? It's like a day work.
Riskaya, yeah.
And so that is a chance for him to leave. And then he has the dream about Hunter.
Yeah, you're right. I missed a little bullet point I made.
Who tells him that this is not a dream.
This is not a dream. You have to do what you promised me.
And so he's like, okay, I'm going to go on that caravan to go to that next station so that I'm one step closer to Polis. Because he's never really left his station.
No, he never left. Well, I mean, he's a baby. So.
Yeah.
Artyom wakes up and his stepdad comes in and he's like, Hunter's gone missing. And he's like, I know, I saw it in my dreams. No, he didn't say that. But Artyom tells him, he's like, yeah, okay, cool, I'm going to go on that caravan trip. And he's like, oh, have fun. They leave. Artyom cries about saying goodbye to his stepdad because he's like, I'm probably never going to see him again. And it was touching. It was sweet.
Yeah, it was sweet. They have a good relationship.
They do.
Chapter 4 is called The Voice in the Tunnels. And they're hand pumping on the rails because they're on a rail car.
Artyom and Zinya, they're getting tired. Their commander says fascists took over some passages, pretty much straight up Nazis. There's Nazis in this.
Yep. Nazis in the metro.
Nazis in the metro. The people of Alexskaya I'm probably going to get all these wrong, but I'm just going off of what the audiobook I said, so.
That looks about right.
Yeah, okay, so the people of Alexskaya looks overworked and underfed when they arrive. They're the station that they're gonna, become friends with. Artyom is just thinking about how he's gonna get to Polis, and he's worried about the red line, because they're talking about all these Nazis and these communists, and he's like, I have to go through that to get to Polis.
He's got a passport, so he's like, I guess I can get through.
I hope so.
And so he makes a plan he has a little metro map, and he's like, I guess I can go this way.
They talk about Polis, it being above the Lenin Library, so it's full of artists and scholars, and it's like the main.
But they think that something else is in there. There's a lot of rumors about, the education people, hiding things.
I can't imagine people travel a lot in the metro, especially if there's Nazis and communists all around. I can't imagine people travel that much.
Well, it sounds like they do, because
it sounds like they do.
People traveling all the time.
But, I don't know. Maybe, I feel like everyone's trading between, their sections where they're trying to avoid, the red line and the Nazi areas. So they're just kind of, small communities.
And also being in a metro, I'm like, how do you... the metros aren't big. They aren't meant for people, a lot of people to camp out.
And there's a lot of people camping.
Yeah.
So they go back to the cart with the commander who has tunnel fear. He's afraid. Artyom hears something whispering, and he's like, does anyone hear that?
He's like, you don't hear anything?
And they're like, no, you're crazy. The noise is coming from the pipes. His friend Zinya's ears begin to itch. And the commander's really like, I gotta take a break. Yeah. So he sits down and he passes out. And Artyom is like, well, we gotta get out of here. So they put the commander in the cart. Artyom, one of the guys just keeps going. he's like, wait, stop, we have to get the commander on a cart. And one dude's just moving. So he goes and he, like, snaps him out of sleepwalking.
He's like,
he takes him back to the cart. Artyom, there's one dude who's, like, crying. He's talking about how the world's gonna...
They were all killed.
So, in order to bring that man to his senses, he tries to be nice, and he's like, the voices are trying to help you, and they're saying, let's get out of here. He's like, you're right.
Everyone thinks that Artyom is crazy, too.
He's like, do you hear voices? And we're like, you're crazy. But then everyone else starts to go, like, more crazy after that.
They just, like, give up, and...
So, 3 working the cart makes it go faster, and eventually everyone's sobered up, but nobody remembers anything but Artyom. But they do remember, it says nobody remembered anything but Artyom, but they do remember that Artyom helped them.
And that they felt weird. So they're like, Artyom's the hero! Yay! They arrive at Rizskaya, and it's doing pretty well. It's doing pretty good. This is where we meet Bourbon.
Yeah. They're going to have a feast for their guests. There's a real train, which Artyom's going to see a lot of, but at this moment he's never seen a real train, so he's like, ooh, cool. Some guy was like, hey, you're the one who got them out of that trap.
Yeah.
The guy's name is Bourbon.
And no one has come from Prospect in 3 days. So he's like, something's going, he's like looking for certain people, and so they haven't been there, and so he's like, I gotta go find them, and since you seem to know what's going on in these tunnels, I'm gonna need you to come with me.
Yeah, he's like, the tunnels don't affect you, so you can snap me out of it when I go crazy. So they need to go to
the tunnel that people die in.
Yep. Artyom named his price, which is cartridges and food, and Bourbon agrees.
And he just, like, dips. He doesn't tell anyone, and then his friend sees him leave with his bag, and he's like, I'll be back.
I'll be back. I just gotta take this guy to the next station. Don't mind me.
So chapter 5 is in exchange for cartridges, because the cartridges are also what they use for currency.
Yeah.
And Artyom leaves with Bourbon.
Bourbon comes to pick up Artyom, because I think Artyom stayed at a hotel, right?
Yeah. They're like little tents that you can stay in, or the hotels.
Yeah. He complains about Artyom's big bulky gun, which they're definitely going to need. So Artyom had like a moment with the tunnels, waiting for Bourbon to talk to the guards to let them go. The guards say they can leave with a gun, but they can't come back in with it. So, and Bourbon freaks out about that. He's like, look, you had to bring the gun.
He's like, yeah, it's my gun.
Absolutely. Should bring the gun. There be rats in the tunnels.
So he's listening for the melody of the tunnels, which is what he heard before of, like, in the pipes, and which is, like, his special gift, I guess. But, yeah, they're rats. And, of course, he's going to have the PTSD of...
The rats.
They're coming.
Bourbon's being teasingly mean to Artyom.
And Artyom doesn't even say, like, hey, look, my whole, like...
I'm sure
Bourbon was killed by rats, so...
Knowing our dude Bourbon, he probably wouldn't care. He's kind of a dick. They arrived at Prospect Mirror. Artyom has a flashback to a young woman reading. Don't know what that's about. Maybe his mom, I don't know.
He has to put his gun in a locker at Prospect Mirror.
They gotta go shopping.
And this is where, again, we talk about the bullets and the cartridges bringing their currency.
They head back into the tunnels after they go shopping.
And Bourbon...
And this is when the book and the game deviates from each other. Like, heavily. Bourbon is now talking weird.
Well, Bourbon gives Artyom his gun while they head into the tunnel outside of Prospect Mirror, because Artyom's gun is still in the locker, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. In the game, he was, like, exchanged for his AK, I think. So maybe... I don't remember.
It's a smaller gun.
They're swapping guns all the time. I didn't take notes about that. Anyway, so Bourbon is talking weird in the tunnels. He says, I've died. There's no more of me. And then face plants on the ground, eyes open. And then right after that happens, Artyom's ears are full of noise. And he's like, I gotta drag Bourbon out of here. I promised I'd get him to the next station.
Then he steps on, like, dead bodies.
He's tripping over bodies trying to pull Bourbon. He gets tired. He shoots a bullet, and he's like, maybe if somebody hears that I shot something, they'll come help me.
Yeah.
Because he's, like, about to pass out, too. And then an old man shows up and is like, leave Bourbon to the rats.
Yeah,
he's dead. And Artyom's like, but I promised him that I would go with him. And he's like, well, he's dead, so it doesn't matter anymore. You got him as far as you can. Take his stuff. And Artyom feels bad about taking his stuff. But Artyom reluctantly goes with the old man to the station. The station has no lights, no authority. Mm-hmm. The old man says the station will burn down soon in a few days.
In 420 days. I was like, here's the weed guy.
Here's the weed guy. Artyom goes to sleep. And then it's chapter 6, The Rights of the Strong.
The guy he met goes by Khan because he believes that he is the last reincarnation of Genghis Khan.
But they're bros, so it's just Khan.
He's intimidating to other people.
Khan is annoying, spitting his philosophy in a very belittling way, I think is my main beef. With Khan, you can spout your philosophy, but if you're being to be a dick about it, fuck you and your philosophy.
Also, I'm like, don't be Genghis Khan, be Kublai. Like,
dude, this guy's insane.
Yeah, he's a little crazy.
Nothing but disrespect for Khan. And the fact that he's in the games all the time, like Metro Awakening, I'm pretty sure he plays Khan. Ew!
I didn't mind Khan as much, but he is definitely crazy pants.
He's the second craziest person in this book. I think the first one definitely goes to the priest that we're going to meet later on.
Oh, God. The brother or whatever his name is.
The worm priest.
Oh, yeah.
That guy, I was so angry.
Yeah, that guy, the worm priest, is a Khan.
C-O-N.
Oh, yeah.
Well, honestly, this guy, K-H-A-N, he's a C-O-N.
I think he's like...
C-U-N-T.
He's gonna see you next Tuesday. I think he's just crazy pants.
I hate Khan. So we're gonna have to deal with Khan for a while. So I'm sorry, you're gonna get a lot of hate.
So they go through Bourbon stuff. Artyom takes his gun, and not surprise, Bourbon didn't have the cartridges that he promised Artyom.
I know, it's so accurate.
Because and then Artyom is like,
so funny.
I think he was just gonna shoot me.
Yeah, he's like, I think he was gonna kill me when we got there.
Artyom's like, well, I promised him I would take him out of the tunnel, so I gotta go back and throw his body.
He does some mental gymnastics to convince himself not to go back for Bourbon's body until Bourbon's ghost shows up, and then he's like, okay, fine, I'll go and take your body. And Khan's like, don't worry about it, I already threw it in the pit.
Yeah, so there's a collapsed tunnel that has a pit that goes somewhere, and that's where they throw their dead bodies.
Khan had a vision that told him to help Artyom because Artyom is on an important mission. So, basically... Khan's the weed magician, sure, but also I think the dark ones can talk to Khan.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So, and it seems like he has the same thing that Artyom's got going on.
Artyom explains to him about the voices, and Khan says they are the voices of the dead.
Yeah.
And Artyom's like, well, this is my map, and this is where I'm going, and Khan's like, stupid map. That map's wrong. That's outdated.
Stupid.
They didn't even finish that map. It was propaganda.
Oh, also Hunter came and talked to Khan. Too.
Yeah. He knew he was coming. That's what.
Yeah.
He's like, there was a guy in a white room. Do you know him?
He looks like this. He's like, oh my God, Hunter.
He's got a name like me. It's like, oh.
He got a stupid name like I do. Oh shit, I only know one other person with a stupid name.
So Khan is like, okay, you can't go that way. So, but
he throws Artyom's map in the fire.
It's like, I have a better map.
God. Khan says that Bourbon's map is heavy, magical map.
It's got writing all over it.
Made by a magician that updates as it goes.
Yeah. It's the Marauders map.
Oh, this is Bourbon's map. So he threw Artyom's map in the trash, but he looked at Bourbon's map and he's like, and then he keeps it because he's like, this is magical. This is the Marauders map.
He's like, let me sketch you.
Can I have this in exchange for a flashlight? I think is what he gives him in exchange.
It's a hand pump flashlight, so you don't need batteries for it.
He also marked everything that was on Bourbon's map on his map that he's going to give Artyom. Artyom now needs to go to Kitagorod.
So they're going to take a different route, but they need people to go with them.
The station they're currently in has the plague. Well, one guy maybe brought it, but we watch him almost get shot, and then he runs away.
Yeah, he's known as the little man, and he's like telling... Man. So they're sitting around a fire, because Khan just like bullies him his way around the fire. He's like, listen to these people, we're going to find out. And he's like, oh yeah, the place that I was just at had the plague. And they're like, what? You were with the plague? You have the plague. And he's like, he strips like naked. And it's like, I don't have the plague. And they're
They're like, we think you have the plague, and they point a gun at him.
And he runs, and they chase him down the tunnel.
They shoot him.
Yeah.
Khan says we should leave.
Yeah, he's like, he's tainted the air. So he's manipulating these people to leave with them because they need people to go in the tunnel.
Yeah.
There
people agree to go with them.
Yeah, so they all start going together, and then they start thinking about it.
They start thinking about it.
This is stupid. Why are we doing this? And Khan is like,
stop it. I'm in charge.
Yeah. He hypnotized threatens him. He like gets in his face, and all of a sudden.
And then he's like, I'm a wolf, and you're my wolf cub.
And
I was like,
gag. The wolf. You are the wolf cub.
Gross. I hate you, Khan. Okay, chapter 7, the Khanate of Darkness.
They walk in a clear and clean tunnel. If it's clean and clear, that means there's a predator there, so trouble.
Yeah, there's no rats, there's a problem.
And there's this tunnel, and Khan is like, close your eyes. And when you close your eyes, you can see the sky. I don't know what's happening. I feel like there's just like methane or something. They're all high as a kite in these tunnels.
The group is starting to get bad vibes. Khan like disappears up ahead, and then he comes back and he says, there's something ahead. So Khan wants to double back and go to a different tunnel, but everyone disliked that idea. So RTM is like, I'm going to go with the group of 8 that we have. Because
Khan's like, stupid, I'll kill you.
Because Khan you're weird. I don't like you. But like Khan jumps down. They said he jumps down with weird speed. So I was like, okay, he's possessed. In my mind, I was like, he's possessed.
I feel like they're just all high.
I think Khan's just possessed the whole time. Yeah, so he jumps down and he looks down at the man that's leading RTM away because he's like, don't hang out with the crazy Khan guy. Although these guys aren't great either. No. These guys were the ones who shot that guy who had the plague, quote unquote. No. So these guys also suck. He pointed a gun, RTM's gun at them, and he's like, RTM, you're coming with me or I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, they're going to die. You need to come with me. So RTM's like, I guess.
I am being threatened.
And then a bearded man named Ace also comes with them, and so it's the 3 of them. And then they go in the other tunnel. They
go to Turganeskaya, and it's empty.
But before that, they hear a muted howl, and he's like, oh, the others are dead. Told you. Yeah, you chose the right tunnel.
But Ace came in, and they almost shot him. But he was like, no, wait, I wanted to go with you because, I don't know.
Something is coming from behind them, so they run
sort of black whirlwind.
Yeah, Kite Gord. And
Ace fell over. RTM's like, fuck him. But Khan went back for Ace.
Yeah.
They have to carry him now. Luckily, the whirlwind ends up vanishing. So, and then they arrive at Kite Gorod.
The thugs there are looking for a bribe. Is this where Khan like pulls the gun? I was like, why does Khan always seem to have RTM's gun? Like, how does he not know where his gun is?
The guards are like, if you want to go through, you got to give us money. Yeah. RTM asks, on whose order? And one of the guards pushes him. Yeah. And Khan's like, don't push my boy. Throws the guards with a gun. But he's like, well, that's just how it works around here. Mm-hmm. Everyone's just a dick. That's just how it works around here. Here's money. RTM watches as a street musician gets robbed by bandits. Apparently, Kite Gorod is ruled by bandits.
There's 2 factions. Yeah. And there's like 2 sides of the trail station. And there's the wagon, which is the headquarters and prison, and it's also known as a torture chamber.
Which I thought would come up, so I wrote it down, but it doesn't. No. Just remember that for later.
We go through so many stations that...
RTM won't eat rats on a stick. It's important. They go through so many stations that it's hard to keep track of what's going to come up again and what's important.
Well, you do see, like, he does a retrospective towards the end of the book of, like, all the things he's done and all the people he's met several times. So him and Khan and Ace separate because RTM's like, no, I need good food. So he goes, like, overspends for food.
He goes at an inn to get booze.
Yeah.
So he's drinking at an inn right now before we hit to Chapter 8, the Fourth Reich. So I think you know what's going to happen next.
What?
God. Okay, gunshots. RTM is at the inn, and he's...
RTM dips.
I'm out. I think self-preserving king. I love that. He's like, fuck Khan and Ace, I'm leaving.
He's like, looks around for a little bit, though, and he's like, I don't see him, so
There's attackers shooting from the tunnel, so Artyom runs into the other tunnels, as did a bunch of other people, and he ends up helping an old man and a feral teenager.
Yeah. So Mikhail Provinovich is having a heart attack. He has medication on him, though, and so Artyom stops and helps him. And he's got this kid that, like, hisses at him.
Yeah. Vinechka?
Yeah.
Vinechka is the kid, and Mikhail is the...
it's like an older man.
Old man. Old man rambles a lot. He's nice, though. He talks about
Artyom and him, they talk as they go to... What's the next place?
I don't know. I know he's talking about fascists and Pushkaya, maybe some dark ones who are Caucasian. They talk about Caucasians. Because we're about to deal with the Nazis.
Yeah.
So, he doesn't know what a Caucasian is. So Artyom, he's like, I don't know what that means.
It's like, I was educated by some random books, and my stepdad missed the 10th grade book, so
I only know 9th grade.
Yeah.
So
9th grade education.
They reach Kunitsky.
And he bribes the guards.
Had to bribe the guards so that Artyom can bring his gun in. They talk about Polis. It's ruled by a council of librarians. And
they hear some goss.
So Polis is run by two types of people. It's like the military, but also they say librarians, but
they're
yes,
they don't like those names.
They don't like that term. It's a little rude.
Brahmins, as we'll find out later.
It's hard to get to Polis because a burned train is on the way that's causing the tunnel to collapse. And then they go to bed, and Artyom dreams of spooky kids and Hunter telling him to leave. Hunter will show. I am very curious in the next book to see what is Hunter doing and why is he in your dreams.
Yeah. So what white room did he get into?
Yeah.
So they have to leave, or they're going to be turned over to the Reds.
Because the Reds want Mikhail handed over for propaganda and slander. So the guards are nice, and they're like, get out of here before they show up.
They're coming, you gotta leave.
Mikhail and Artyom and Vinechka head out. They run into bodies in the tunnel who were shot in the back of the head by the Nazis. So they're heading straight towards the Nazis.
Yep. And they get to the...
They run into some Nazis. They ask for their passports, and our feral boy... Vinechka doesn't have one, so Artyom is free to pass because he's the most Russian looking of them. But because Mick and Vin don't have a picture, Mick doesn't have a picture, Vin doesn't have a passport.
Yeah.
So they're like, get nude. And then one
weird.
of the Nazis, like Artyom's just watching this. They're like, yeah, you're free to
waiting
go.
For him. He's like, no, these are my
just waiting,
traveling with these people.
One of the Nazis slaps Mick. Vin attacks them and then gets like double tapped to get shot.
Yeah, he gets shot. So.
And then Artyom starts
like,
shooting.
Screw you, dude.
Starts blasting. Chapter 9. I don't know. Do Stirbst. Do Stirbursts? Starbursts?
Starbursts.
Okay, so Artyom is going to be hanged. He's been tortured for a while. They basically took his eyeball.
They, like, beat the crap out of him, and his eyes swollen shut.
He'll be hanged tomorrow. They think he's a spy. He's like, I don't know why they took out one of my eyes, but they kept my teeth. Strange. There's a bag over his head. He has a dream where Hunter comes to save him.
Do Stirbst means you die.
So yeah, he has a dream where Hunter comes to save him, and he's like, everything is fine, and they collapse the tunnel so the Dark Ones can't get through, and everything's all hunky-dory, and Hunter machine guns everyone to death.
Except,
but then he turns into a rat.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, Hunter, are you a rat? And he's like, no, Artyom, you're a rat! And then he comes and attacks him. Amazing dream to have. Artyom was stressed about death, obviously. He has no regrets about killing that Nazi.
No, but he wakes up in a cage, so that whole dream of him escaping, he's screwed.
Yeah, so he asks the guards for water, and they...
So thirsty, they're like, you loser, you're about to die, you don't get water.
They said that Mikhail's dead of a heart attack, so after that all happened.
Yeah.
They pick up Artyom, take him to the gallows. The executioner lets him keep his talisman.
Which is the message from Hunter.
He hears gunshots, but he still
gets hung. They hang him.
Yeah. He gets hung. And then he wakes up to somebody doing mouth-to-mouth on him. I put Artyom as meeting POC for the first time. This is the first time he's ever seen people of color, so he's going to talk about that. They're communists!
Yeah, and there's a dog,
There's a dog.
They are big fans of Che Guevara, so...
I don't think I wrote that down.
they talk about him all the time.
The first international...
Artyom is like, who's
oh,
that?
they do.
Yeah.
First International Red Fighting Brigade of the Moscow Metropolitan in the name of Ernesto Che Guevara. That's their whole name. That's their whole name.
Yeah.
They cart away. They're not from the Red Line. They don't like who's in charge of the Red Line. They're different.
They're
not like other communists.
No, they're on the handrail thing too, and they're just like going in and out of places, and they're like, fuck Nazis. Like,
yeah.
Shoot them up.
Artyom really wants to stay with this ragtag group, but he's like, I gotta get to Polis.
Yeah, and they're like, we're not going there, but we'll drop you off at this spot.
Yeah, so as long as he swears not to harm the revolution, and he's like, yeah, sure. They all voted to help him by dropping him off at a passage, but they're getting shot at, and they have to speed cart away.
Oh, are you on chapter 10?
No. They can't help Artyom, they're returning to base. So together they go to Pavleskaya, and then they go separate ways.
So no Pasarn? Sure. It means they shall not pass. I did look it up. It's a Che. It's a
Che thing. You would understand.
So yeah, Comrade Ruskov and Bonsai just drop him off, and without telling him that this place closes at 8, and it's because they are open to all the radiation.
Yeah, nobody messes with this space because they're the only ones, because they have like a big old hole in it. They're the only ones that are defending them from the creatures above. So like nobody wants to mess with this.
So during the day the creatures are like sleeping, but during night time, which is at 8, the people go into the tunnel and they lock it. Yep. And so Artyom didn't make it in time, and so he's got to stay out and hang out with the soldiers.
Hang out, yeah. They also the communists give him a submachine gun, send him on his way. There's also a lot of clocks around here, but I guess because you want to know when it's nighttime when the monsters are going to show up.
And then so Artyom's going to listen to all their stories. They're going to talk about the Hare Krishna and Satanist. I was like, oh, we're just
I thought the Satanists were going to show up, but they never did.
No, they're digging a hole to hell.
They're too busy. They're busy digging a hole to hell. We never see them.
I was like,
maybe Hunter sees in the next book. I don't know.
And they talk about them all the time. They're like, these stupid guys digging a hole to hell.
Yeah,
like,
I totally thought they were going to show up. I was like, oh.
Wouldn't that be funny if that was actually the religious cult that we meet next?
That would make a lot of sense, actually.
So he's hanging out with Mark, and Mark's one of the guards, and they talk about, he's like, oh, I gotta go to Polis, but I don't have a passport because the freaking Nazis stole all my stuff. And so
they also see like a monster show up. Mark shoots it to death. They call it a newcomer, which is cute.
So Mark's like, okay, Artyom, there's the guy that's at the next station. He comes here all the time because we have these rat races.
Oh, this is the rat race chapter. When I read this, I was like, please tell me that there's rat races in the video game that you can bet on. There's not, and I'm really mad about it.
Mini games.
That would have been so cool. So yeah, they have rat races here. Artyom says he's got to go. Mark's like, you can't without a visa passport. So you have to gamble yourself in a rat race for the visa against the station king.
Yeah, I'll set it up. So I'll basically have us as slaves, and Artyom's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a slave. But Mark, they talk to the station. The station guy's also like, I don't want a slave, but you guys can clean out our poopy our latrines for a year,
for a whole year,
an entire year.
So Mark randomly grabbed a rat.
He's like, I always wanted to
I always wanted to do this. He named it Rocket, and he has to go against the king's rat, who's Pirate, I think is the king's rat's name. They lost, obviously. Because Artyom's like, you just caught that rat, we're going to lose. And he's like, but what if we don't? And it's like, Mark.
Radiation poisoning.
Oh my god. Obviously they lose, but what if they didn't?
Yeah, so they get taken to go shovel shit. Mm-hmm. And on the 5th...
They took Artyom's gun, too. He never even got to use it.
No. He's like...
they can have it back at the end of the year. Yep. So Artyom shoveled poopy for 5 days.
And then he fell in it, and then he was like, screw this.
No one's gonna stop me if I'm covered in shit. So he just walked out.
He noticed, he's like, they don't even look at us. So yeah, he just walks out. He just keeps walking.
He walks into Hansa territory, and they kick him out. But, so he takes a little nap.
And then...
on, the side in a tunnel somewhere. And some guy wakes him up. His name is Timmy?
Brother Timothy.
Brother Timothy?
Yeah.
He seems like a religious nutball, is what I put.
Mm-hmm. And he's going to take him to the watch.
Oh, this is my favorite. It's chapter 11. I don't believe it. That's what I love that.
Yes.
They're going to Watchtower.
So they get Artyom cleaned up because cleanliness is next to godliness. And they're like, you smell. And so they give him robes. So he's got a change of outfits.
They gave him food.
Mm-hmm. But he's got to listen to sermons. And the whole time he's like, well,
Artyom is not religious. He thinks religion is cowardice. That's his mindset.
So he asks the question. I didn't even put the question.
Oh, I do.
And then he tries to walk out. That's what I have. What was the question?
So they think this whole religious sect, they're like, the rapture already happened. And the one in the metros are the chosen of God.
Yes.
Kind of different.
They're reading Revelation.
Yeah. So Artyom's like, yeah, I have a question. What does God think of all the mutants? And then they're like, oh, gasp, oh my God. And Artyom, takes himself out. He's like, I'm out of here.
And then, so
he runs off.
They're on this, train, and he tries to get off to go out into the tunnel, and the guy's like, you can't leave. And he's like, what? I'm stuck here? And then Brother Timothy comes up behind him, and he's like, we don't keep people here. You can leave, but before you go, I have to say this. Don't lie, don't gamble, don't have sex, don't drink, don't be gay, don't cheat, don't do incest. Some customer service questions.
Don't do any.
How did we do?
I need you to do
1 to 5.
Don't do magic. Don't be too angry. And he's listing all of this
as he's following Artyom is like, get me out of here.
And he's like, but also give us back our robes. And Artyom's like, I'm leaving.
He starts running. He literally
runs away. And then the tunnel madness returns.
Yeah, because he's like, this whole time he's running in the tunnel, he doesn't even think about what.
I feel bad because Timothy was nice, but also he was nice in that culty kind of way that I don't respect. So Artyom just ran ahead. He ran into a train and he skirted around it. He's like, this is the train they told me that is haunted and causing problems. Whatever, skirt around it. He arrives at
Polyank?
Yeah, station. It's full of junk and there's 2 guys by a bonfire, Yevgeny and Sergey.
So he sits next to them, and they have a nice little conversation about Metro 2.
Metro 2! This is when I made the joke that there's 2,033 metros! Yeah, so they tell Artyom that he cannot go any further, but you can't go away, but you can't stay here.
Yeah, it's like, sit and listen to our philosophy. So Metro 2 is a parallel metro that was made for the elite, and the elite are watching them to see if they're worthy.
But they think that they're, the rich people got irradiated. So they think that they're kind of mutants.
Which would be the Dark Ones,
Which
right?
would be the Dark Ones, and that's where I thought that the Dark Ones was going. Yeah. I was like, oh, Metro 2 is where the Dark Ones are, and they were the rich people that turned into aliens. No. That's not what happened. Honestly, I kind of wish that would have happened. It would have been cool.
So
but whatever.
That's the unseen watchers. They're watching and directing them, and they have to atone for their sins in order for the watchers
to help them. Because they guess Metro 1 was like, fuck you, I don't want to listen to you guys.
Yeah. Artyom has this whole view on Christianity that I just put a note of what page it's on, but I don't remember what he said about it. I think he was just like, no.
He's not religious.
No.
And it bothers him.
Yeah.
Which,
Because it's that whole punishment thing of we didn't do anything wrong. If I didn't do anything wrong, why am I being punished for it? The sins of the father.
He's thinking back on his adventure, and he's like, I have plot armor, which he does, because he's like, because of my goal.
Yeah.
I have plot armor. I'm invincible. I cannot be stopped. I'm going. So he just gets up and walks to Polis.
Well, yeah, because we also hear he talks about life is an empty joke. Fate doesn't just happen to you. You need to arrive at it. Is what their philosophy is. He is the chosen one, right?
He's the chosen one.
So he's like, oh, well then I'm back on my journey. I got to choose my fate. Let's go.
Funny to Polis. Be like, fate doesn't exist. God doesn't exist. I'm the chosen one.
I'm the chosen one. Well, fate doesn't just happen. You have to go towards fate. So you have a fate, but it's still your choice. You still have a
fate because Artyom really juggles between having. He's like, is there a fate or is there not a fate? And it seems
He's a man
like
with a plan.
for the longest time, this book is like, fate doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But at the very end of the game, they're like, you had a fate. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well.
but it's still that whole freedom of choice thing where it's like, you have to choose to accept that fate. Chapter 12, Polis. He finally makes it.
He finally made it after thinking he has plot armor now.
Yeah, now he's like, I'm going to choose my destiny.
Invincible.
Fate. So he gets to Polis, and he's like, hey, I need to meet this Melnick guy. And they're like, well, he's not here. You must wait another day.
Before he gets to Polis, he hears footsteps behind him. He's getting really, like, spooked out. And someone whispers in his ear, wait, you can't go there now.
Can't go there.
And he's like, whatever, I could do what I want. And he keeps going. So yeah, then he makes it to Polis. He's hearing, like, shots being fired. And he's like, the heck's up with that? And they check him, and they're like, I need to talk to Melnick. And they're like, Melnick is out on a mission, so you're going to have to hang out.
You have to wait a day. He'll be here tomorrow.
But you can go explore and have
fun. We're going to give you these sunglasses.
It's bright here.
It's bright. And I was like, this reminded me a little bit of The Wizard of Oz, except for in Wizard of Oz, so in the book, when you get to the Emerald City, they give you green glasses, so everything's emerald because it's.
Is it not emerald if you aren't wearing
it's not
green
emerald
glasses?
Well, that's what the Muppets, right?
Yeah, that's true. We did watch the Muppets Wizard of Oz.
So because it's all an illusion, and that's the whole thing with Oz. It's an illusion, but with Polis, everything is illuminated, so there's no shadows.
Very bright. So he ends up hanging out with this guy named Daniel, who's like his age, and Daniel gives him the rundown of Polis. He tells him about the caste system.
Yeah, he's like, "What's up with those face tattoos?
Everyone's
y'all
getting
have?"
tattoos.
He's like, what do you mean?
He saw tattoos of birds on like the guards, and Daniel is like, "Oh yeah, based on your caste, you get a tattoo." And Daniel is scared because he's like, "So you're a librarian?" He's like, "Never call me that." Ooh.
But you did give books and stuff. Like,
he says they're guardians or
yeah.
They're what's the other one? What's the other name that they call him?
They have pretty much adopted the Indian caste system. So there is the warrior class, and I don't think I wrote down the names of the. Because I used to know
I just called them guardians. They had another name, but so you have the warriors and the guardians, and the guardians are the ones who guard the books.
I said it earlier in this podcast.
You did. I thought you knew.
I did, but all of a sudden my brain stopped working, and once I see it.
They have a lot of books there because stalkers will go up and they'll grab books from the great library above them and will bring them back down. Daniel's really being cagey about the librarians. He's like, why don't you like the word librarian? And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. It sounds like they're mutants.
It's like, we're not.
Because they are.
So he's like, I've heard of it. The warriors and the librarians. So then you're a librarian, and he goes like pale. He's like, what do you mean librarian?
Never call me that.
It's like, no, we are the Brahmin.
The Brahmin. I'm going to call them guardians because I think that's how I wrote it the whole time. But they're also called Brahmins. And so Daniel tells Artyom the Great Library was built for one special hidden book that has all history recorded on it, including the end. They had the, like, past and present are missing, but the future book, it's up there in that library.
The whole time I'm like, he's got to be talking about the Book of Revelation. And they're going to be so pissed when they find out that those other cult members have it.
Artyom knows that there was more than one book because when Bourbon was possessed by something,
he just starts spouting
stuff. And so he's like, there's more than one book. He's like, how do you know that? And he's like, I
really thought they were going to say, like, those other cold people have it. Because that's about the future with the Revelations. That's what I thought the whole time. I mean,
I don't even know what it is. Because
spoilers,
they don't even find it. So yeah, Bourbon brought it up. So that means that the Dark Ones no. The Dark Ones know.
They know everything. And then we also hear the story, like, you can't stare at the Kremlin.
What is a Kremlin?
The Kremlin is the building, is their White House. So there's towers that we'll see later that have, like, ruby red. Here, let me...
It puts you in a trance.
Yeah,
if
he's like, don't look at it. So when because we'll hear it several times, they're like, don't look at it, don't look at it.
Don't look at the Kremlin. Are you gonna show me a picture of
Let
a
me show you a
Kremlin?
picture
Is
of
it just the like?
It's the what you think it is.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
the Russian things. Makes sense. Now I know.
Don't look at it, because that's why it wasn't destroyed during the nuclear war.
Because it
has cultural heritage site.
So Daniel goes to sleep, and Artyom reads about pentagrams and the communist leaders summoning demons.
And then he dreams of the Kremlin, and he's like, "It's like I was there, and I'm hiding behind this thing." And then he gets woken up, and they're like, "Melnick's here, but you got to go take a shower."
He's in line for like the shower, and he sees this stalker, and he's like,
full fanboy.
"Look at this hottie over there."
Full fanboy.
And then the stalker comes over and talks to him. He's like, "Oh, me?" And he's like, "I'm Melnick. What do you want?"
Heard you're looking for me. And then so he tells Melnick all about his journey. And then he gives him Hunter's thing, and he's like, "All right, we gotta go talk to some people."
He tells him that his home is now full with dark ones and his people are dying.
No.
He's like, "Oh, you're from Vidianka? Yeah, that sucks because they're all dying."
Yeah.
The council wants to talk. The Council of Polis wants to talk to Artyom about his journey,
So
his
it's
home, all
the
that stuff.
Brahmin and the warrior
people
So
having a meeting.
He recalls everything that he went through. And the best part is they're like, "You're a liar." Because the last station that you're at when you talk to those guys about fate, no one lives there.
It's full of gas.
You're a liar.
Nobody can live there. And he's like, "Oh, did I imagine 2 guys?" He did.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I think he definitely just had like a moment where he made up 2 guys to tell him.
And he gave them names,
because
too.
once he dipped, right? Once he dipped, the 2 guys were like, "I don't think that doing that is a good idea," even though he didn't tell them what they were going to do. Mm-hmm. Which means, in his mind, he was like, "Yeah, I have plot armor." And then he walked away and he's like, "I don't think that was a good idea." Yeah. Sometimes you just create 2 guys to talk to.
Yeah, so they think that, again, that Sapolyank, no one's there, so they don't want to help him because they're like, "You're a liar."
Polis refuses to help Artyom's station. The council has decided. But the council's note taker... What? The council's note taker tells him about the magical messengers. He's like, they might not believe you, but I've heard stories of people going to that gas station and like seeing things and then coming to revelations on their own. So I don't think
they're
you're crazy.
Was it Oscar? There's the one drug that everyone's taking now, the ayahuasca. The ayahuasca trip where you see things and
you see 2 Russian guys
telling you about fate.
Will tell you about fate. The elders think he's special, so this is the guy who took the notes during the meeting. So he's part of a different group. He's like, "We think you're special, and we want you to go up to the library to get the book because you saw 2 men there."
Mm-hmm. You can hear the tunnels.
You must be a magician.
So you have special abilities. Chapter 13, the Great Library. So he agrees to go to the Great Library, but wasn't told what to find. He's like, "We need you to find something for us, but we'll tell you later when you're on the surface."
He definitely thinks it's the book. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Pretty sure it's the book." He's going with 2 stalkers and 1 guardian. They set Artyom up with gas masks, overalls, guns. It turns out our guardian is our boy Daniel.
Who also has never been to the surface, so this is going to be great. So Melnick and 10 are the stalkers, and they're like, "Listen, when I say go, you go. When I say stop, you stop. Don't look at the Kremlin."
Don't look at the Kremlin. He says they think Artyom's the chosen one and he could feel the book's vibe. That's what Daniel said. Yeah. Daniel's pretty persnickety about this. He definitely does not believe it.
You got the vibes.
He's got the vibes.
Years of training, but I guess we're both skipping that.
You're the guy who's got the vibes? I'm surprised Daniel didn't know that when he signed up for this mission. Yeah. They're like, "We found someone who's the chosen one." It's like, the one guy who showed up to the station?
Yep.
Dan, come on. The stalker tells him what to do. Also, it tells you... They talk about the librarians. Yeah. They're like, look them in the eyes and back away slowly.
They're kind
of
like...
Never show them your bag.
The Weeping Angels from Doctor Who.
Kind of. But they'll still come up to you. What's really annoying... It's funny that they had this gameplay mechanic because I played this level and then I read this chapter and I thought that was such a gameplay thing. And then I read the book and I was like, oh my gosh, it's real. Yeah. But they can still come up to you in the game and like take one swipe at you or do like false charges like gorillas do. What am I thinking? Oh, it's really annoying that they can come up and swipe you once and then walk away because every time in the game they swipe me, I just shot them. You're gonna damage me and expect me not to do anything about it? Terrible.
Alright, so they get to the surface. Don't look at the Kremlin. Artyom
looks at the Kremlin.
looks at the Kremlin. They gotta, like, tackle him to the ground.
They just slap him.
Snap out of it.
They see what looks like people. There's, like, irradiated house plants, which you see in the game.
So the people, they take out a flashlight and they circle it 3 times. And Melnick says, if they do it back to you, then they're ours. But if they don't, then run.
Oh, jeez. Artyom tries to sense the book. They arrive at the front of the library and they're like, I don't sense anything.
They go into the library after the irradiated houseplants. There's the card catalog system, and Daniel's like, it's the cards of fate. This is...
He steals a card.
Well, so you go to the card catalog, which is, where it tells you where books are.
Yeah.
But they say you pick the card, it's like a tarot reading, and then it tells you what your future is.
That sounds fun. Should do that at libraries.
Just be like,
that one.
That one.
See what happens. They talk about how there's no rats here because the librarians ate all of them. Because Artyom's like, there's no rats. That's sketch. If there's no rats, that means there's danger. And they're like, yeah, there is danger. It's called the librarians.
And the description isn't great. And I have the question of, like, what they look like. It does say they're, like, gray gorillas. And then it gives, like, different descriptions.
They say that they're like gorillas. And then Artyom will see one up close. And he's like, that's not a gorilla. Yeah. But, like, it is. It kind of, like, in the game, it basically is a gorilla with a weird face.
Then it also seemed like a parrot, too.
What are you talking about? I'm gonna let you look up a librarian right now.
Well, because of the whole thing later with Daniel and
just because it mimics its voice.
Well, I think it had like a.
It doesn't really have
the description of the face. Had like.
I think it looks like a giant gorilla with a smushed human face. Like if you cut the face off of a gorilla, it would look like that. Yeah. Ooh, those ones are even worse. What's that one from?
Probably fan art.
I mean, I guess you could say that maybe looks like a beak, but.
Maybe like a baboon's mouth?
It looks like a smushed monkey face.
Yeah. They got super long fingers.
They're better to snatch you with, my dear. They're better to take books off of the...
So, do you think they were the actual librarians?
No.
What, do you think they were like gorillas from the
what's funny?
Russian
in Metro
Zoo?
Exodus, there's actually gorillas.
Yeah.
Isn't that silly? Yeah. So they continue to the hall. They see a big gray creature swing into small crevices. In the game, it tells you to go away, which is cool. But
so Melnick takes them some weird direction. So Daniel's not telling them where to go. Melnick's telling them where to go. And
Melnick has been in there before. Daniel has not, but he's just studied it.
So they're like, Artyom, use your book vibes. Do you feel anything in this room?
Vibes.
He's like, no, I don't feel anything. And so they end up in a room where there's a bunch of librarians.
Yeah, Daniel's trying his best. Actually, no. Artyom flashes his flashlight at a librarian, which causes them to attack. And the stalkers have to shoot the librarian. And they're like, okay, Dan and Art, you guys go do your thing. So they run off.
And they're in a different part of and they're hearing all these gunshots.
And Daniel's trying his best, but he doesn't know where he's going.
No, and they end up... So they're like knocking on doors, and then something else is knocking back, and we just don't. That talk only happens about
once. So they go up. Creepy. They go up to a door that's locked, and because they're hysterical, Dan's like, "Why don't you knock on it?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he knocks on it, and then it knocks back, and they're like, "Oh my god, we're going through the other door. Actually, we're gonna go behind us." So they go through a different door, but meanwhile, someone's trying to open the door that was locked. We never know what that was.
No, it was creepy.
I don't know what that was. Artyom freaks and kicks down the other door, and it's filled with plants, and they sneak around, and eventually they find the Stack Archives, which is where they were trying to get to. Yeah. Artyom doesn't hear anything, but he feels like they're being watched.
And then Daniel's like, hold up, bro, you go ahead. I gotta tie my shoe.
So Artyom went on alone, and then when he looked back, Daniel was gone. So he hears someone calling his name, and he follows it to find, in a puddle of blood, a boy Daniel. The librarian is eating him alive. The librarian mimics the speech.
Yeah, because Daniel is talking, but the librarian is also talking.
It's mimicking what Daniel is saying. So that's how Artyom could hear him, mainly, because Daniel's saying Artyom, but he's being eaten alive. So he's saying it very quietly. So the librarian is mimicking, saying, Artyom! And so that's what caused him to show up.
And he's like, get out of here.
He's telling Artyom to shoot, but he's like, the gunshots will attract the other librarians. I can't shoot this. I can't shoot Daniel, basically, in the head.
He's already pretty much dead, because his gut just got sliced open, and so he's not going to make it.
Artyom's like, shoo, get out of here, go away.
Daniel's like, you're just going to have to kill me.
And then that's what the librarian says, too.
Yeah.
Get out of here, go away. Dan tells him he has an envelope for him when he finds the book. And he also tells him, if you can't find this book, you can't go back to Polis empty-handed, before he's, like, ripped open more. And then Artyom's like, I gotta shoot Dan. So he shoots Dan and the librarian at the same time. Yeah. He takes the envelope and card that Daniel took from his body and his flashlight and his gun, too. Artyom runs to the main reading room. Melnick is there. 10 broke his leg. And he's sitting on a couch to get out.
Melnick also tells Artyom, you can't go back to Polis.
Yeah, the stalkers stop Artyom because they leave the library, and he's like, can't go back to Polis. You know too much. You killed one of their own, and you don't have the book, so you're not the chosen one. So you have to go to another metro station from the surface alone before sunrise, and Melnick will meet him at Samolskaya after dropping off 10 at Polis.
He gets, like, really explicit instructions, and he listens to none of them, and...
It's a lot of instructions to remember.
Even Melnick is like, okay, it's 3 fast, 2 slow, 3 fast to get, and they'll open the door for you. And he's like, got it. Don't go into any of the alleyways. Don't go into the houses or the apartment buildings.
That's where they live.
Like, they're occupied. So, and he's like, great. Hear you. Now I'm going to go, and I'm going above the surface while Melnick takes
10 back and then meets him there later. So chapter 14, they're up above. Artyom walks on. He sees a creature. It kind of runs after him in the alleyway, but they're like pursuing him, but then they stop and they wait and they watch. So they're being real creepy.
He's getting stalked.
He keeps running away from them. He goes down the block. There's like 4 creatures following him. They get real close. Mm-hmm. He points a gun at one of them, and he actually like shoots at them and then like runs away, I think hoping to scare them. And then those shots summon a flying monster that took out one of the people that were following him. People, quote unquote.
They were like, I thought they were the dog things. I thought they...
The things that are following him are definitely the dark ones.
Oh, I did not... I thought they were...
They're standing completely still, and then when they see him, they start to move. Very creepy. Don't like that. Not a fan. Because they're like humanoid. Artyom runs. He sees more creatures in the alley. They stand still as statues until they see him, and then they move. He runs into an apartment, which he was told not to do, and he starts shooting at them from the window of the apartment. He reads a book, and a picture falls out. He breaks
into one of the apartments because it was locked, and then he finds it's hasn't been touched. He finds a picture book. There's a picture in it,
of a mom and a child, and on the back it says, "Little Artyom is 2 years and 5 months old." And he's like, "Oh, that has to be me."
And he goes into the bathroom, and he holds the picture up next to his face, which also has the mask on, and he's like, I can't tell if my face is his face.
Also, I look awful.
He leaves the apartment complex, and he has to avoid the green slime, which...
It's dark outside right now because they can't handle how bright the sun is. So they're like, don't... When the sunrise happens, 1, that's when the monsters come out, and 2... you're not going to be able to take it. So you have to get to the station before the sunrise, and it's starting to get light outside, so he's got to go.
He's got to book it. Of course, he forgets the code to knock, but there is a dark one that shows up behind him, and so he starts to shoot at it. And
he's been shooting at them as he runs to the station.
Well, that's why I thought it was the dog things that you
They're
shoot at.
all outside of this house that he invaded. And he's, shooting at them. He's, killing them.
Well, he even tells Melnick about that green slime later. He's like, you didn't touch it, right? But I was like, we don't hear anything else about this green slime.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that green slime. But he didn't touch it. He tries to shoot a flying creature, but he's out of ammo and he has to switch weapons. A creature comes up to him. He uses Daniel's old gun and he's like, it doesn't work. This is why Daniel died. His gun's busted. He runs away. He makes it to the station, forgot the secret code. A creature manages to get close enough to almost crush him. Like, they're, like, kissing face to face. Artyom just then, the station door opens, somebody grabs him and pulls him inside and bolts the door. Melnick is there. Artyom tells him what happened.
Very impressed that he killed the Dark One.
Yeah. And then he admits how Daniel actually died. And Melnick's like, yeah, don't tell anybody that. This is classic stalker thing.
But like, also, you need to go into decontamination because you were on the surface, so we're going to need your clothes and stuff. Yeah. And
then Melnick was like, what's up with that envelope that Daniel gave you? So they open it, and that's chapter 15, the map.
Of course there's a map, but Artyom can't read it.
Artyom's like, oh shit, I forgot. They read it, found out it was directions to missile units.
Yeah, but Artyom wouldn't have known this. So they gave it, so the librarian people, Brahmin people, they weren't going to help Artyom save his station, but they're like, hey, we have information on these missiles that will help you save these. But if they had just given it to Artyom on his own, he wouldn't have known what any of it was.
He wouldn't have known. It was mainly giving it to the stalkers, I think, at that point, because the stalkers know what it is.
So Melnick has to tell him about the missile piles up at the surface, I guess.
Figure they can just bomb the botanical gardens to get rid of the Dark One, since that's where they're being created in the goo.
Yeah. And so, but Melnick's talking to somebody, and Artyom's like, I'm gonna listen. They're like, go to bed.
They gotta go to D6, which is where the missiles are. And in order to do that, they have to go through Metro 2, as we talked about before. Yeah. So, Artyom, they kick him out. He's gotta go eat something. Yeah. And then take a nap. He has another weird dream. I don't know. I didn't write what it was. It's mainly... These dreams are starting to become a creature is coming after him.
Yeah, so he's at Vinikaya.
His main one?
Whatever his station. And, like, because people are missing, and he's looking at kids, and... So it's kind of a blend of all the same dreams, but there's something in the shadow that's waiting for him, and he's like, runs away
from it, yeah. This will be a reoccurring dream now. Hunter doesn't really show up anymore in the dream. Melnick woke him up, gave him a bunch of gear, and is like, we're leaving. Guess we're going to D6.
They're going to Kiev, and it is a place that people have been going missing.
It's the City of the Dead. No, that's the other place.
That's next to it. Yeah.
That's Park Pobody. Park Povedy.
Park Peabody.
Pobedy.
They meet, or they're gonna go talk to a guy. There is a cave-in that they're guarding, which everyone's like, that's weird. Why are you guarding this cave-in? And we meet Anton. And Anton has a really annoying son named Oleg. And so Anton is one of the guards, and he's going to take Melnick to go find someone. And so Artyom is left with Oleg. Because Oleg wanted to go to the station, but his parents were like, no. So Oleg went to the station anyways, and so now Artyom has to babysit.
Oleg runs off, of course. Artyom follows, and Oleg has a music box that he places onto the pipes to amplify the sound of the music box, and he's like, check this out, isn't this cool?
This is how kids go missing.
So, yeah. They say any kid who goes down there gets taken. Yeah. Something was duplicating the sound of the music box inside the pipes to Park Poverty. Artyom drags Oleg away. He's like, yeah, we're not doing this.
Yeah, and he tells, it's like, we find out it's the City of the Dead, where there was a station there, and then they're all dead, and then at the end of the chapter, we meet Treyak?
Yeah, Treyak.
He's the specialist.
He's a missile specialist that Melnick brought. So, chapter 16, The Song of the Dead. The squad is Artyom, Melnick, Anton, Treyak, and Oleg. Oleg gives Artyom an RVA tab, which we find out was his dad's later on. But he's like, I'm a missile expert too. Look, I have the missile expert tag.
And he's like, but I'm not supposed to talk about it.
Where'd you get that? We'll find out later. So
Melnick and Tortilla, they leave Artyom behind. He still doesn't have a passport, so...
He can't go to Hansa.
You gotta stay here. He goes to the station master guy, the chief, and they get drunk.
Because Melnick and Tretiak are going to go look for D6's entrance and then come back for him. So Art hangs out with, what's his name? Arkady...
He's the station chief.
Simonovich. We learn only the children are disappearing, which is interesting. He shows him that they found a needle with a barb on it on one of the guards to the tunnel to Park Poverty. He hasn't told anybody about it yet, so keep it a secret. So Artyom drunkenly walks out, and he sees something in the distance, and the thing rushes him, and it looks undead.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up with his head hurting, and he gets a note from Melnick saying Tretiak has been killed on the way to D6.
Stay where you are. He's coming.
He died via poison needle.
Yeah.
Like with a barb in it. So Artyom meets up with the guy that he got drunk with last night, and he gets his passport picture taken. And this is where we find out that Oleg has disappeared.
Yeah, Anton comes in, and he's like, my son is missing. And they're like, oh no, we can't do anything. Sorry. So sad, so bad. Artyom is like, oh, it's my fault because I let him play the music box.
They also they found Artyom last night between platforms, like plastered
on the
ground.
He ends up going to...
He joins the search for Oleg in the tunnels, and he finds his music box.
And right above where his music box was, there is a shaft.
Hatch.
Yeah. And so they push the cart, and Artyom and Anton then don't tell anyone where they're going, and they go up into the hatch.
They're basically going to Park Poverty. They see a painting of a snake on the floor, and it, like, kind of leads them there. No. It's, like, a really long...
It's, like... But they're also... It's part of it. They're in, like, complete darkness.
Yeah. It's pretty dark. Artyom gets poison darted, and they drag him away. The people who look dead are dragging him away, saying the priest said to paralyze these guys and not poison them. And they talk about this great worm and that they're going to eat them.
Yeah, they're cannibals.
And everyone at this station couldn't be older than 30 because they're kidnapping children, obviously.
They're tied up in the dark. Artyom wakes up and he's hearing them talk. And there is this old man who's the priest, and he's the one that talks about the great worm. And he's like, what are you doing, old man? Like, why are you stealing these kids?
Yeah.
And they indoctrinate them, basically, and then they eat the bad people who are the adults.
Yeah.
And they feed it to the...
But it's crazy because this old priest man who's talking about the worm the whole time, he's basically like, the worm doesn't like cannibalism, but we gotta do what we gotta do.
Yeah, the bad people.
Yeah, they're gonna celebrate them or eat them in order to celebrate the great worm. So chapter 17 is Children of the Worm. Artyom asks for a rundown on what the fuck the worm is and why they steal children. Artyom is like 100% done at this point.
Yeah, it's like, what the...
Alright, tell me your philosophy, I guess. They don't eat kids, like you said.
They're like watching them in the dark too, because he's moving, and
they like him and was it Anton? Yeah.
Anton's still passed out.
They're still passed out. They're tied up. They can't see anything. Apparently, they're gonna bring in Oleg, who has resisted the hypnotism. So they have hypnotists here. These people think the worm digs the passages in the metro. Turns out that the worm is a train.
So there is some debate on this later on in the chapters, because at first he thinks it's a train, and then it could be the thing that actually the digger thing that
could be
actually
the digger
dug
thing.
The tunnels. But they're like, yeah, people didn't make these tunnels. The great worm did.
The great worm did.
And Artyom is like, shut your mouth.
Shut up. It's really dark. Can't really see, but they hear Oleg's voice. So they brought Oleg in. Oleg tells us that his dad was a missile man who worked in the RVA. And because he was a missile man and caused all of this to happen, because of the missiles, he must die. And Oleg's like, yeah, I guess my dad
he's, like,
can die.
playing along, but I was like, this kid is a sociopath.
Artyom?
Didn't they paralyze him again, right? His dad or whatever?
No, I don't think so.
They paralyzed someone twice. I think it's Anton.
Artyom is so sick of this life theory shit, and honestly, same is what I wrote. This old man's philosophy is he created the Great Worm to give people something to believe in and follow and to hate
he is a
machines.
Con man.
He made up this religion, stole a bunch of children, made them do cannibalism.
Because they can't get food. They need meat, but they can't get meat any other way. And so
they eat people.
Which makes you crazy. But
they're going to put Artyom in a sack and beat him to death. That's how they eat them. Because he's like, yeah, it like marinates you. It's really good. Something is happening at the station, and it sounds like Melnick is here. Melnick is here to save them. He's shooting up the place.
He brings like a bunch of people. They have shields and stuff, which is good because they are just getting bombarded by all these darts. So Anton actually got past that again, so they have to carry Anton.
Yeah, Anton's
He
done.
got paralyzed part 2.
Twice.
And so he's not waking up.
Oleg came in crying, being like, I'm sorry I said that, you should die. I just was playing along. I didn't want them to kill me. Melnick and a bunch of stalkers are here. They form a little turtle around Artyom, Oleg, and Anton. They took the old man that was spouting worm shit hostage.
And then Drawn is like, I am your follower, take me too.
Yeah, some other guy. Yeah. They're getting attacked with needles, a stalemate. They wave a red flag. I call them the zombies. These zombie kids are waving a red flag. The stalkers are like, okay, we should release the hostages. And then they realize that they're being hypnotized. Well, Artyom does. Because he sees the guy doing hypnotism. So he jumps out of the turtle circle and shoots the hypnotist. But he only manages to graze him. He doesn't kill him. So that snaps them out of their trance. And they decide to go to another tunnel that Oleg tells them about. Because apparently all of these worm kids know about the secret tunnels everywhere.
Yeah, but there's certain tunnels that they can't go into because it's like a holiday.
It's a religious thing.
Yeah.
The worm's in there. Can't go. One guy got poisoned, so Artyom's got to take his stuff. Poor stalker guy got poisoned. The stalkers and
paralyzer
Artyom...
darts and poison darts, and so that guy's out. So now Artyom's got gear now.
He's got gear, and he's got a shield, so he can be part of the turtle.
And they go into the other tunnel, and the priest gives like his villain speech of like, I created the Great Worm, because they're like,
are we there yet? They throw a grenade. It caused a blockage. So we have 2 hostages. We have the worm priest, and we have one of his followers. Melnick is pretty sure the cannibals know the entrance to Metro 2. In fact, Melnick thinks we're in it right now.
Well, where we're supposed to be, guys.
Then Melnick starts to interview the 2 hostages about the worm and the holy passage, and you can only go on certain days. And then
the evil villain speech.
Villain speech. That was so long. It was driving me insane.
There is no worm, and then Drawn, the follower, was like,
so angry.
There's no worm? What is the purpose of life?
He freaks out.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Like a full mental break. And he keeps saying, alone. We're alone. We're alone. And so Melnick's like, F this. And he just shoots
that guy.
It's like crazy.
And Artyom thinks about this a lot because he's like, his last words were like, alone. But Artyom's already had this crisis, like, I guess 3 times before now. So he's kind of...
He's never really alone. Even when he's in the tunnel by himself, he gets people whispering in his ears.
I don't know why they didn't kill him sooner. I guess, I don't know why they need him.
They wanted information on certain tunnels and stuff, but he was not really giving it up. They actually gagged him, and then when they're in a little bit, they're gonna try to get to the Kremlin, and the priest is just like,
you can't go there.
No, but that happens that's the next chapter.
That's the next chapter. So they continue through D6. We learn that inside us, there are 2 stations. The birth station and the death station. This is Artyom being a little bit dramatic, where he's like, we have... And the middle road that we walk, we go from the birth station to the death station. And I was like, Artyom, please.
Yeah. So they do tell you that, like, they're like, oh, it is a train. That's the Great Worm. But it's, like, no fanfare at all. But then at the same time, they'll say again later that it's the thing that's digging, that used to dig the tunnels.
They hear a roar.
Well, Artyom hears noises, and he
goes to open a door.
And he sees
a train that is working, and he's like, is that what they think the worm is? And then he closes the door, and then he goes back to his...
And it says, some secrets should remain secrets. And so he catches up with the group. Now we're in chapter 18, The Authority. And he asks, do trains still run? And everyone's like, what?
Yeah, Melnick thinks he's crazy.
Well, how would they still run?
And they march on.
There's no electricity. Like, how are we... No. They're headed to the Kremlin, and the priest is like, oh, hell no, I'm not going there.
The old freak doesn't want to go to the Kremlin.
They ungag him.
He doesn't want to go so bad. He poison darted himself.
Yeah, he wiggles out of his restraints and poison. So he's had that poison dart the whole time, and he's holding on to it until the right moment. And it was to kill himself so he wouldn't have to go to the Kremlin.
Everyone is like, woof, what's in the Kremlin?
RTM tells us that his dad served for the RVA, so he's a missile man, so they have a missile man with him. So
Anton is not doing so hot, though.
No,
Our missile man, he's Delulu right now.
Yeah, he's on a stretcher because he's not fully waking up yet. And
one of the stalkers is named Ullman, who is in the game. And he talks to RTM about the Kremlin, and he says, it's the same as a doodle bug.
So the doodle bug thing is the bug burrows into the sand and opens its mouth up, like in Star Wars, right? Whatever that. Okay. But that's what it does, and it causes...
It, like, sucks you in. Yeah. It creates, like, a hole, and it sucks you in, and that's what
its mouth is open so that you fall into its mouth. So, but then he also says, like, he's like, well, Artyom's like, I saw a jewel in it. It was, like, red. And then he says... The Kremlin, it's like the effect where each person sees what he wants to see when they look at the Kremlin.
So you want to see a red jewel for some reason. So they're at the Kremlin station.
And it's like...
And they have to investigate.
And there's paintings and
it looks like nice. Everyone's like, ooh, cool. Artyom is hearing giggles and slurps. And some slushes down in an elevator.
Yeah, the escalator goes down to the bottom, which is where they need to go. And there's this dirty brown ooze. And it's alive.
Artyom goes into a trance, like looking at the goo, and Melnick's got to slap him, and he's like, we gotta run, the slush is coming.
The slush is... So this reminded me a little bit of Fern Gully with Tim Curry's character. But
I haven't seen Fern Gully in so long. I have no idea. This was wacky, though.
Yeah, this was weird. Especially later when, like, not everyone makes it out.
So the grip... Like, something has a grip on Artyom's brain. They slapped it out of him, kind of like the Kremlin thing. And then they're starting, like, all the stalkers are starting to have it, too.
Yeah, they have to climb up on this...
On the top of a train.
And then they're said it's, like, sweet, and it's calling to them.
So Melnick is like, quick, we have to sing and hold hands. So they hold hands, and they sing about the motherland. And wars.
And they're like, yes. They don't know the rest of the lyrics of the song, so they stop singing.
Everyone falls into a stupor once they can't remember the rest of the words to the song. One of the stalkers is like, well, that's it for me, and jumps into the goo.
Yeah, they just start eating themselves. And then Oleg, the little boy, runs and jumps into it as well.
And that woke up Anton, who was like, where's my son? What happened to my son? And then he shakes everyone up, and he's like, where's my son? And they're like, and Artyom saw him jump in the goo. I don't know if anyone else did. Everyone else is in a trance.
They tell him, though, and so he's super sad. But
they try to shoot the goo, and they try to blow up the goo with, like, grenades. And eventually, the goo leaves after it's blown up, right?
So they throw the flamethrower pack into it, and it explodes and causes a fire. And that causes the sludge to go, and they're like, let's get out of here.
They mad race to the next tunnel.
And then they're like, okay, well, we gotta go get these missiles. And Anton's like, well, I guess I'm your man, because I have time now, because...
Yeah, they tell...
I can't go home without my son.
To Oleg. So it's down to blow shit up with his missile knowledge.
Artyom has another dream.
They take a break. They're like, that was a lot, guys. Let's go take a nap. And Artyom falls asleep, and he has another dream about the creature.
Someone is waiting for him.
It's the same dream. Ullman wakes him up. Melnick says they have to split up. Ullman and Artyom are going back to the metro. Everyone else is going to the missile site. Ullman and Artyom will then go to the surface, to the botanical gardens.
Because they have to direct where the missiles are going to go.
And do that. So... Chapter 19, the final battle.
The final battle. So it took Artyom like 2 weeks to get to Polis, and it takes him like 2 days to get back to where he needs to go. So they're supposed to go back to Prospect Mir.
Well, he's with a stalker. I'm sure they have like an all-access pass.
It's got the special
Yeah.
visa. They stop in Mayakovskaya.
Oh, Ullman kills one of the.
They drop down in a tunnel, and he just
kills one of the cannibal kids.
Yeah.
And Artyom's like, you stabbed him while he was like not looking at you. He's asleep.
He was sleeping.
And he was like, well, maybe he'll learn not to be asleep on his job next time.
What do you expect me to do? These little
It's funny. It's funny to have standards, Artyom. I respect that.
The cannibal kids
I
that tried
respect
to eat you. So they go in a tunnel. They go into a station to look for food. It's a really
Dude almost accidentally hires a prostitute. Had a crisis about what the point of life is and what are you living for. And Almond.
Wait, before all that, so the setup is
It's not almond. It's Ullman.
So they go. This place is like the worst station. They have like gross food. They've got rats and like moldy mold, and he sees this woman with this small child. The child reminds him of Oleg, and so he's not going to buy the food, but he's going to give the kid money, to survive. Yeah. And then the woman's like, "What? What do you think? I'm just going to give you my son?" And he's like, "Well, no, I was just making sure he had food." And she's like, "For 5 cartridges? No, you give me 20 cartridges. I give you 30 minutes with him." And Artyom's like, what the fuck? Like, 30 minutes to do what? And she's like, it's up to you. You have the boy.
Sure.
And she calls them perverts at first, and then she tries to, like, whore off her son.
I thought she was whoring off herself.
No, it's the son. 30 minutes with the boy.
I'm gonna look it up. What do you think you could get for 5 cartridges that he'll be your child? Artyom didn't immediately understand what she had in mind. Finally, it came to him, and he was on the verge of opening his mouth and stop making excuses, but he wasn't able to utter a thing. He just stood there staring blankly. The woman, satisfied with the effect she had produced, replaced her age with mercy. Agreed, certainly, 20 cartridges for half an hour. Son Artyom took his head, turned, and nearly took off running. Jerk, give me 15. I thought, this could go either way.
Yeah.
You could think it was that. I think that she was trying to sell herself.
Oh, well, then he tells Ullman about it, and Ullman's like, well, that's, like, how people survive, like...
Yeah, Ullman's unfazed.
And then they have their meaning of life conversation, because Artyom's whole thing is, like, I have a destiny. Like, I'm here to save people. Like, that's why I'm here. That's my goal.
So he asks Ullman, like, what are you living for? What's the point of your life? And Ullman says it's making and bringing up children. That's for him.
So it's not just procreation, it's how you raise
being
them.
A dad.
Yeah.
He just wants to be a dad.
So they leave and they go to...
They also hear that his home station, it's in bad shape. His home station is in bad shape.
So they go to the next place to get food because it has better food. And that's when they hear that people are dying in Vidikaya. They then are going to jump onto a handcart, and Artyom is like, why are these seats so weird? And she's like, the lady that's on the cart, she's like, what do you expect? A woman just got stolen by a rat last time. Like, we're doing here for survival. And so Artyom falls asleep and dreams again.
He thinks about how he wants to go back to his home station before he goes to the surface again, and he falls asleep. And the creature in his dream was a dark one. It told him not to run. He screamed and woke up.
Yeah. Why you scream?
They see people lined up at the station. It seems likely that they're going to blow the way to his home station.
So they're back at Prospect Mir, which is the station like before theirs. And they're like, okay, we're going to blow it up in like an hour. And so Artyom goes to Ullman. They're like, okay, we're going to the surface. He's like, I can't. I have to go back to see the people there.
They keep saying that there's too many vampires, which is funny.
Yeah.
Too many vampires. Which
are
just it's not the dark ones, though, because the dark ones are supposed to be non-hostile.
Oh.
So what is attacking their place? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are people's brains getting taken over, and then they're like exploding. Like, I don't know.
They're sucking the life out of him. Maybe there's a translation error that vampire means something different. And
They said that this is a poor English translation. I think people had a real beef with how this was translated. It's fine for me, but I guess stuff like that, I was like, what are you talking
maybe
about?
It's like an energy sucker versus a vampire.
Yeah, maybe
Maybe it's like a succubus.
It's like just a really annoying friend.
So Ulma's like, all right, Artyom, you go home. I'll meet you at the surface in 5 hours and 50 minutes.
Yeah, they're gonna wait for him.
Here's my watch,
which is nice.
I'll get a new one.
And this is when he has his retrospective.
Yeah, so he goes back. He's going through the tunnel to go home, and he thinks about all of his past journey. He finally makes it back to the Nikaya, and he meets up with Kirill, who is where took him out of it in the first place. And he's like, "Oh, you're still alive. What happened to
Zenka, his friend? He's dead. Dead. But Sukhoi's here.
Yeah, his stepfather is still there, so he goes to see his stepfather. He doesn't see him at first, and then when they meet and they're all emotional, like, oh, I never thought I'd see you again.
They hug.
Doesn't even ask, like, where the hell have you been?
Well, that's what he thought. He was like, he's going to be so mad at me, and he wasn't. He was just like,
I'm
glad you're back. And he tells him everything, and Sukhoi's plan is to go down with the station.
Yeah, he's not leaving, because he's like, you have to get out of here, they're going to blow the tunnel, and he's like, no, we're the last line of defense, so we're going to stay.
Artyom wants to stay too, but he's like, no, you have stuff to do. You should go.
Then he finds out that Khan showed up and left him a note, and the note said,
Artyom will be here soon.
He who is brave and patient enough to
peer into the darkness his whole life
will be the first to see a flicker of life in it.
Whatever that means.
I guess that's what happens in the next chapter.
I guess.
He's got to peer into the darkness of the Dark Ones to see the
flicker of light in it.
Yeah.
If Khan already knows, then just say it.
It's got to speak in riddles.
I hate him.
He's the freaking caterpillar from Alice in
the
Wonderland.
Worst. Artyom shows Sukhoi the photo and is like, "Hey, is this my mom?
Like,
you saw her, right?" And he's like, "Dude, there's a bunch of rats. I don't remember."
I saw a woman. She was a woman. I don't know. Could have been. But also, like, look at the kid. Like, does this look me as like a child?
That's true. Does it look like me as a kid?
I guess all kids kind of look alike.
That's true.
So there is an escalator.
He says goodbye to his stepdaddy.
Yeah, so the stepdad takes him to the escalator, and they say goodbye, and so he's going to go to the surface. And when he gets to the surface...
doesn't see Ullman.
Ullman's not there.
So he's like, I'm just going to look around.
So there's a ticket booth, and then this leads us to Chapter 20,
Born to Creep.
There are a bunch of kiosks. There's a note that says, like, bury me like a human and enter this code.
Yeah, he sees a lot of, like, video game storytelling skeletons, you know? Sees a trench with a moat around a station.
You can see all the people that tried to get in and did not at the end.
He sees a currency exchange door, and he finds the code in the most video game way possible.
It's just written on the side. Because there are flying monsters, and so he decides to hide in the kiosk, and there's a
corpse in there.
Body, and she
wrote notes so that he can read them.
I liked the notes. The notes were...
It's silly. It's so game. It's so video game. Day 5. I tried to leave. Didn't work out.
Yeah, so she got stuck in there, but luckily she has a candy bar and some water. But it sounds like she got radiation poisoning because she's like, I'm not hungry to eat this.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing
definitely
up. And
did not get saved by the currency exchange kiosk.
She saw people like walking around with no faces and stuff like that. And so she dies.
A big old truck shows up. The flying beast attacks. The truck guy comes out and starts shooting, and Artyom runs out.
Get in the truck!
Gets in the car! It's Ullman and Pavel, the driver. Pavel tells Artyom that he's heard about a drilling rig, because he thinks the military's up to something, because I don't know, I guess they were talking about, like, the train thing. I don't remember how they got to that conversation, but for some reason Pavel's like, yeah, there's a drilling rig in the metro.
In the metro? I don't remember that.
I don't know. Anyway, Ullman comes back saying he can't get into contact with the other stalkers, so we gotta go higher.
Yeah. So they're gonna go to a tall building so that they can get the radio signal, so that they can give the message on where to shoot at the botanical garden. They have to climb up all the stairs, of course, and Artyom's out of breath, and he has to take a little...
He's struggling. He almost gave up just
took a
because
little
there are
nappy.
too many steps, and honestly, he's
But
so
they're
real
in
for that.
all that gear, too.
He's
and,
so real
like,
for
the
that.
masks.
He's like, is it even worth it to save all these people if I have to go up all these stairs?
I'm gonna die up here.
It also empowers him to think of everyone living their life, so he keeps going. They see the Dark One's nest pulsating in the botanical gardens.
And all of these little dark ones come out.
Gross.
And they see all of them down there, and he's like, oh. And then they all turn and look at him.
Gross.
And then he has like a mental moment where they're like, you're the chosen one.
Yeah.
How'd they say it in the audiobook? They were just like, you're the chosen one.
No, they say it in the creepy whispery voice.
You're the chosen one.
They go to comms. The commander says that they're like, okay, we found the missiles, and you just have to put the coordinates in, and then we'll launch them.
Yeah, and Artyom's having this whole moment while they're doing that with the Dark Ones, and the Dark Ones basically say, like, we're the future, you're the past, but
they're evolved humans who became a hive mind. They can't feel pain, and the Dark Ones wanted to make contact and try to help each other to get stuff to work. So they were, that's why they were coming
this is your
down.
Past, we're your future. We want to save you. You can't live down there.
Because Artyom was the one who let them in the metro in the first place. I guess he got picked to be their ambassador. But honestly, they did a really bad job. Yeah. They would just kind of stand there and stare at him. They didn't really talk to him effectively. I guess they tried to talk to him through, like, bourbon at one point, and that didn't work out.
No.
Everyone else that tried to talk to him through his mind, they blew up.
Yeah. They're scared of new
they're
things.
Scared. Yeah. They did a very bad job of basically killing people by trying to mind communicate with them. And I think if they're so smart and hive mind, you'd think they would know that. So Hunter is talking to them through his mind, so maybe he made contact. I don't know.
I'll have to look at the next book.
But Hunter and Khan obviously know what's going on with these Dark Ones. Khan sucks so hard that he didn't tell him anything.
They're all
In
like
fact,
feeble-minded.
He's like, you have to figure it out yourself. Like, fuck that. If you want to save, because basically they're about to get blown up.
Yeah.
Artyom can't save these guys. The missiles are on the way. He's like, oops.
Yeah, so that is it. It's like he finally understands, but then he sees the missiles and there's no... He's like, oh, well, they're screwed. And the last line of the frickin' book.
Artyom feels empty and cries, returning to the metro.
Then he wiped his falling tears and, not paying any attention to the cries, began to descend the staircase. He was returning to the metro. He was going home. But them blowing up the botanical gardens also blows up his station.
Yeah, so he's going somewhere else.
And that's the end of the book. That's the last line of the book.
So that's the bad ending in the game. Because the good ending is you move the missile somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But that's also not the canon ending. The canon ending is the book canon ending, so...
that is the end of Metro.
Yeah, okay, I say the Dark Ones, they had their chance. That dude was... It's not like they sent the communists to help him when he was being tortured.
No, that would have been...
But then, I think every time they try to talk to somebody, like, their brain explodes and they go crazy.
So he's the only one that didn't.
He's the only one that can kind of handle it, but only kind of.
Yeah.
He still is like...
he's also getting, like... beaten the shit out by Nazis and then almost eaten by cannibals, and so all the other people of the metro are trying to kill him, and the Dark Ones are trying to help him, but not in a...
But they're trying to contact him through his dreams. No. So...
He finally had to stop running, but when he stopped running, it was too late.
Just run after him. Like, do something more. All they do is stand there, and they're like...
the puppy that
they stand. They're apparently non-hostile, which I don't think that's true, because they're killing people on accident. They are hostile, and they're doing a bad job at communicating to Artyom what needs to get done. Obviously, the Dark Ones were only a problem at his home base because they were trying to talk to him, but they are creepy. So they get shot immediately.
They scare people because they look like the vampires, and then...
And if they're supposed to be the next evolved human that can handle being outside, and they're supposedly so smart and a hive mind that comes out of a giant goop thing, I don't want that. That's gross. What's up with the goo?
Goo everywhere. It's radiation, probably.
Do they leave goo everywhere?
Maybe they're the green goo things. I don't know that we've never heard of. I don't know. Too many questions. I guess we're gonna have to read another
the dark
book.
ones, and they come out of the goo, like the big hive mind goo. Are they just trying to talk to Artyom so they kill the child? Why'd the child jump into the goo?
Oh, Oleg?
Because the dark ones were talking to him.
I think that was a different creature, because that was another... They talked a little bit about the radiation and the war, and while...
Something else is talking to them in their minds?
Maybe that's...
It's the dark ones. The only ones that talk to you in your brain are the dark ones.
Well, the goo creature was talking to them.
But the botanical gardens were pulsating with goo that the dark ones came out of.
I don't know. Good goo, bad goo.
It seems to me, I'm not sad about it.
We're going to have to read more books, I guess.
I'm not sad about it. I know that in Metro Last Light and the 2035, there is one dark one left because they wanted to make it like Half-Life 2.
Very like Ender's Game.
It's like Half-Life 2. Where you have a girlfriend now, and you also have an alien friend of the aliens that you fought in the last game. So I haven't played it yet because I actually kind of wanted to read the book first, which was a mistake, and I shouldn't do that. I should just play the game, and then read the book. But I don't know. We'll find out.
All right, our next book.
It's a request.
We do take requests.
We take requests. We listen to you, and we're reading Five Nights at Freddy's, an interactive novel, The Week Before, which is a choose-your-own adventure novel. So we're gonna see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
We read like a FNAF book a year.
We do.
Maybe two if we're feeling a little spicy.
Sometimes super weird. So
they're fun. They're like Goosebumps, but this is our first
choose your own
adventure book, so that'll be interesting to talk about.
Yeah, so join us on Fable and see which adventures we choose, I guess, and we'll see how that goes on Fable. Yeah.
All right.
Next time.
Bye.